Alma stares dead ahead, locked in, and shouts his fireball spell like he's about to ignite everything. He juts his hands forward, and a monstrous beam of fire rips across the field. The blast rockets across the battlefield and detonates straight into the target's heart, tearing off the world with a massive explosion. Alma whips his head back as the target keeps smoking, and his maid erupts in cheers, telling him he was absolutely wonderful. She's totally blown away, saying it's insane that a kid his age can cast magic with that kind of razor-precise control. And the maid goes absolutely wild, proclaiming he's the very first prodigy her family has ever seen. Alma just stands there, all awkward and self-conscious, because when she starts praising them, she can tell she's definitely doing way too much. But she's not buying it. She snaps back right away, grilling him like, "Do you really think I'm exaggerating?" She blurts out that his last spell's power and pinpoint accuracy were on a whole different level, especially because he hasn't even gotten his official gift yet. And still, his raw talent is so rare it barely anyone's ever heard of it. Alma stares down, lost in thought over that special gift, like it's supposed to show up for him, eventually knowing that at 15, the goddess hands every kid a deadly special power. And the combat abilities are the rarest, most hunted treasures of them all. A giant blast of energy crashes into the ground inches from him, shaking everything. The shockwave slams into them so hard that Alma throws up his hands to shield his face, and the maid blurts out a sharp, startled shout. He fixes his eyes on the screen and boom, instantly realizes this isn't normal lightning magic. It's something way higher level, and he straight up says that when it comes to that person, you can't even guess where the attack will land, like it's ripping right out of fate. Alma yells for his older brother Keith, and Keith storms in like he owns the whole place, all puffed up and full of himself. Keith glances over at Alma and tells her, "I see you're still out here, training just as hard as always." The maid instantly spirals again, insisting that's exactly what she figured the family's greatest prodigy would pull off. And she keeps bragging about his purple lightning wizard gift, making it sound like even the guards themselves see him as the absolute ace. Alma gives his brother full credit like, "You're doing exactly what everyone counted on you to do," especially because he'd already locked in those high-level gifts and nailed them. Alma demands what he needs from him, and Keith snaps that he's shocked Keith even bothered to trek all the way here just to talk. Keith freezes for a beat, like a sudden memory just hit him, and tells Alma that their father has a sliver of time, right now, to finally see him. Alma's eyes widen in pure shock when Keith drops the truth, that this whole meeting is only happening for his sake. Later that night, the two of them settle into a quiet, fancy dinner in the main hall. Their father snaps his head up from his food and demands, "So it's true, the ceremony is tomorrow." He almost chokes on his food, freezes for a beat, then nods like, "Yeah, that's it. That's when I'm getting my gift." He drops his eyes to the plate and mutters a low reply, and the weight of the biggest day finally crashes down on him. Lord Fellows says he begged Curaha and Keith to join them, but they flat-out refuse to listen. He shrugs it off in a flash, saying, "It's fine. We're both good at what we do, and we're always swamped anyway." The whole table goes quiet as he locks eyes with Alma and blurts out that, honestly, he's pretty damn scared. He blurts out, "So, is Alma really gonna land us a gift that's worthy of our family name?" He wipes his mouth with a napkin, then rips off the mask and decides to tell the truth about exactly what he expects. He locks eyes with Alma and tells her he's clinging to one hope, that this kid is finally the one who will step up and take over his title as sage. Alma just freezes in pure shock as the weight of the sage title smashes into him all at once. It's absolutely massive, because his dad is a legendary sage and his mom, she's a top-tier mage, so everyone's just waiting for the kids in that bloodline to snap into some insanely powerful wizard gift. Even Curaha, the oldest brother, has already carved out a legend for himself as the legendary Red Lotus Wizard. Then we meet the second son, Keith, the Purple Lightning Wizard himself, already famous, and it's only the beginning of what he's about to. It made one thing crystal clear. Every single person in that family got a gift tailored to one specific kind of magic. Both older brothers pull off top-tier wizard gifts that literally put them on another level, But there's one gift that hits different, like it's in a whole new league. The Sage gift is the ultimate prize for any wizard. It grants them full access to all kinds of magic. It's wild. Alma's dad hauled the guy's family name up so fast, all by himself. The thought of having two sages in the family, shoulder to shoulder, hits Alma hard. She can feel it. The moment his dad casually says he's been watching him closely and expects big things, pressure crushes down on him like a ton of bricks. He tells Alma, "No matter what gift I end up with, I'm still gonna be a huge deal for this family." But then the real gut punch hits. He admits he cleared his whole schedule just to watch the ceremony tomorrow. Alma wiped his eyes with his sleeve, completely shaken by what his dad had said, overwhelmed with joy as he kept thinking about how happy he was, and he hammers the promise into his own mind. He's going all in, no regrets, because the day of the ceremony finally crashes in at this massive temple. The whole place is jammed wall to wall with people, and Alma keeps telling himself, hey, it's fine if he doesn't end up becoming a sage, and even if it looks small, even if it seems pointless, he's still ready to take it. While the priest stands at the altar as Alma stares out with a hard, serious look, then silently vows to repay every last thing his family has done, starting right now. Suddenly, the priest booms Alma across the whole room, officially kicking off the announcement like the room just went silent. His dad looms in the crowd, eyes burning with intensity. Alma's whole world locks onto him, and the rest of the family stands there, tense as the big reveal looms, while the priest lowers his gaze to the results and starts to blurt out exactly what Alma's gift is. Then he abruptly stops, just for a heartbeat, leaving. He just stood there with his eyes shut, like he was bracing for the moment fate finally speaks. The priest gapes at the results, frozen in total silence, utterly baffled by what he's staring at. He stares out at the crowd, stunned that something like this could happen at all, while the silence stretches on and on. The crowd starts whispering and the whole vibe turns creepy fast. Alma's dad snaps, yelling at the priest, "Why are you panicking like that?" His dad hammers him for the answer, and the priest stumbles through the announcement, until he finally blurts out the truth. Alma has no gift. His father just freezes in place, staring with a dead, blank expression, so stunned he can't even get a single word out. Alma whips her head back the moment reality crashes into the room, while the heir from that family gets handed absolutely nothing, not a single gift, and it leaves, leaving him frozen in place, eyes bulging, utterly crushed by the truth. He's basically powerless. He's learned that having zero magic is basically a myth, and he can't wrap his head around why the universe singled him out like this. The crowd starts slinging trash about how a sage's son could possibly be such a letdown, and that pressure crushes Alma so hard he feels like he can't even breathe. The words "incompetent" keep hammering in his head as he storms away, and the whole mess feels like it's tearing his chest open. He freezes almost in place, eyes wide with pure disbelief. Then he blurts that this has to be some kind of mistake because since the rules are simple, every single human is meant to receive a gift. Then the priest and Lord Fellows start walking away. His dad insists this whole thing is unheard of, but he's acting like he knows exactly what he's doing. Alma watches him stride off, staring at the question in her chest. Is he really trying to protect her? He starts chewing on the word effort, and swears to himself that he'll push harder than he ever has. No excuses. He still remembers his dad's words, how he prayed Alma would be the one to step in and inherit the title of sage. So he forces a brave grin, telling himself every hard training day still has to matter. Then he stares at his dad and promises, "I'll do my best to live up to what you believe." But Lord Fellows just keeps marching forward, saying he's had his eye on Alma since he was a kid, and swears she'll be an asset to the family, until Alma finally has to call out to him one last time, hoping his dad still gives a damn about him, no matter what went down with that ceremony. But then his dad's face contorts with pure disgust. He snaps, roaring at Alma that she'll never call him father again. He keeps marching forward, never once glancing back, and fires off one question after another. "Alma, Don't you see he still hasn't realized how deep the trouble really is? The crowd's going wild, screaming that this can't be real, while Alma just stands there clocking the truth. Whatever that gift was supposed to be, he's in deep trouble. Lord Fellows looks like he's seconds from exploding. He jabs his hand outward, stares his son down with pure disgust, and Alma ends up alone in front of that massive stone archway, staring like he's been hit by lightning as everyone turns their backs on him. While his dad warns him that a bad gift is one thing, but having zero at all is a full-blown disaster. And the crowd instantly starts whispering that the third son is nothing but a complete failure. And they start asking themselves if something's off with the family bloodline, because the crowd's noise keeps swelling, and then someone blurts out, "Can you even hear all the trash we're throwing at you?" telling him he's crushed the family name for good, while everyone else just waves it off, acting like he's nothing but a spoiled rich kid with zero real talent from the start, and they keep chanting "shame on you" at him. Alma's eyes start to brim, because as he listens, he feels everyone ripping him to shreds. Then Lord Fellows blasts out to everyone that the Fellows family wants nothing to do with an incompetent kid who can't even land one single gift. He whispers Alma's name one final time, seals it as truth, then hammers the words, "You're banished from the family forever, leaving all." Almost slumped in his seat at the tavern. He looked wrecked, so out of it that he just leaned over his drink, breathed out one long sigh, and tried to swallow the fact that his whole life had just been destroyed. Alma hears whispers nearby. People can't stop talking about how the family they just saw belongs to that famous guy, and it hits him hard that kick-out news is tearing through the streets already. He takes a gulp as the worker blurts that a pint is 700 gold. And that snaps him back to the 50,000 gold his family dumped on him before they tossed him out, and he can't shake it. A place like that is no safe haven for someone as green as him. He slams his palm on the table, gripping his own resolve, because he knows he can't keep drowning himself in booze like this. He's desperate. He almost gets up, then panic hits hard. He can't stop thinking about how he's even supposed to survive alone. Then the pressure finally snaps. He crumples on the spot and collapses right on the floor. He's sprawled there, completely wiped out, eyes glazed and drifting into nowhere, like the world just cut the power in it. Then it finally crashes in. He's totally alone. He whips his gaze to the ceiling and he finally snaps to it. Every ally is gone, wiped clean from the entire world. And because of that, he's lost his family name. His last bit of hope feels gone too, and now it's like he's convinced no one will ever so much as look his way again. Alma sprawls on the floor, utterly drained, staring up at the ceiling as he mutters that it's all a bunch of crap. He starts wondering if he's truly lucky enough to witness what comes next, chuckling to himself about this being his so-called gift. Then out of nowhere, a message suddenly flashes on his screen. His reincarnator gift is finally activated. Alma's eyes bulge the moment he spots the screen. Pure shock hits so hard he can't even keep up with what's happening. So he jerks upright and demands what that voice in his head is. Just as the system blares that he's about to slam back into all his past life memories and powers, he starts doubting everything, grilling himself over what this gift even is, what reincarnator is supposed to mean. And then, suddenly, his status starts blinking. He clamps both hands to his head as the pain smashes his thoughts to pieces, and the system confirms the transfer is a complete success. A random dude nearby glances over, snaps, "What the hell is wrong with you?" and tells Alma he's definitely overreacting to the pain. But it doesn't give him a second. Another message snaps onto the screen. He's officially inherited offensive magic, and then it just keeps rolling. Notifications slam into his vision non-stop, and he realizes he's loaded for battle with defensive recovery support, plus even space-time magic primed and ready. System alerts keep blasting in non-stop. Spatial, spirit, even forbidden magic got inherited clean. While Alma's knees buckle and he screams as his crushed memories finally snap into place. He sucks in a shaky breath, and the truth hits him like a punch. Now it finally clicks why he never got a new gift at the official ceremony. because he turns out he doesn't need it at all, because the truth hits him hard. His real power was there the whole time, but before he can even wrap his head around it, a massive hand slams out of nowhere and snatches him by the face, and he can only stare, frozen in shock. Alma is totally blindsided as some random guy goes off the rails, screaming, demanding to know what the hell he thinks he's doing. Alma just stares him down and casually asks what's wrong. Then the guy jabs a finger at her and insists, "You're the one behind all of this, look." When he scans the room, it's chaos. Every soul in the tavern is either slumped over their drinks or sprawled face first on the floor, and the only one still upright is a lone armored guy, barely hanging on. Alma finally gets it. This isn't some outside force. It's the crushing pressure of his own magic exploding out of him, and since he's inherited his past life's power, it's leaking everywhere. Turns out, anyone nearby who can't handle that raw power gets instantly crushed by the reincarnator's presence, straight up overwhelmed, until the armored guy shook like a leaf, barely keeping his feet as he fought to get the words out, trying to ask what Alma had done to everyone. The armored guy is falling apart, wheezing hard as he grabs at Alma, demanding what the hell he actually is, and Alma just stands there, awkward as hell, like the whole scene is spinning out from under her. He brags that he somehow knocked out every single person in the place, then starts sweating like crazy, jaw tight, staring Alma down, but Alma shoots a hand up, then blurts out, shaking with nerves, that this is probably just a massive misunderstanding happening right now. The guy shuts the whole thing down and snaps that there's no point arguing anymore. So he surges forward, and Alma's eyes blow wide, because he's gotta move fast or that hit is coming straight for him. Alma throws himself back to dodge the strike in the chaos of a messy tavern, and right as the blows fly, the truth about his gift, being a reincarnator, finally starts to sink in. That armored guy keeps hacking away with everything he's got. Then the narrator drops the bombshell. This very gift is the one Alma got in his first life. Turns out the reincarnator gift has a cruel rule. Whoever grabs it can only use it for one single rebirth. Once that person hits 15, every memory and skill from their past life slams back into place. And right now, dark energy is already swirling around Alma's hands. Alma locks eyes with his opponent, and the moment he unleashes his real power, the legendary dark magic he's been hiding all along erupts. Alma digs deep, clamps his focus, and murmurs hollow as his hand shoots forward, triggering a colossal skeleton built out of dark smoke loomed over him, towering like it owned the night, while everyone in the room just freezes, mouths open, gasping for air. Alma's thoughts slam back to that choice he made in his first life to be strong, and poured his entire second life into sharpening those powers until they were razor perfect, setting the stage for the next step in the story's climb leading to the second it hit him. He finally realized he had every ounce of magic he'd ever need for the outside the tavern, where everyone sprawled on the floor, slumped like their strength vanished. As he stares at his own hand, the truth hits. Right here is where his brand new life finally begins. The next morning, the whole town starts buzzing. Fresh rumors slam into the streets that the fellow's son has been spotted at the tavern. But the guards are totally baffled. Every single person inside was discovered knocked out, and not a soul has the faintest idea how it happened. One of the armored guys cranes his neck at the towering buildings nearby, thinking maybe they'd be the perfect hideout, while the guards sweep the streets. Then one guard tells his partner to calm down because he's taking the search way too seriously. But then the guy reminds him, if they actually find the kid, the fellow's family will pay a massive gold reward. As Alma crouches in the shadows of a nearby alleyway and listens for what's happening, he realizes almost instantly that the mess he made at the tavern is already blowing up everywhere. Word is spreading fast. Standing on a roof, Alma rips into the truth. He got exiled anyway, so there's no way he can stay in the Empire, and now he has to hunt down a whole new place to go. That's when it hits him. Familia Kingdom sits just west of where he is right now, so he can't stop thinking about that place. This brutal monarchy that's ruled for over 2 centuries, and it's every bit as massive as the Empire. And somehow in his past life, he remembers a safe house right there. Though with 2 whole centuries gone, he can't even tell if it's still standing. It really slams into him. 200 whole years have passed since he was last around. And then it hits him. This whole Illistella empire wasn't even real back when he was alive the first time. Alma shoots a grin toward the distance, convinced he's finally about to see just how wild the world got over the past 2 centuries. The guards keep marching their patrol, and as they pass, Alma's mind races back. There used to be a trade carriage on Carriage Street that thundered west, so he slips down into a dark alleyway, vanishing out of sight. It's still early enough that the streets are dead quiet, so he sprints along while the coast stays clear. But he nearly freezes when he spots a familiar face. It's his brother Keith, who rips into him for being incompetent and says he's been waiting for him. Keith is planted dead center in the street, blocking every step forward. He brings up the tavern brawl, leans into Alma, and snarls that she's still a stain on the family name, because even after being tossed out, she hasn't proven she's worth anything. Keith clenches his fist and starts charging lightning magic, muttering that their dad is seriously furious about the mess he caused. But Alma grabs his attention and pleads, "Hold on, wait a second." When he tried to tell his brother about what happened at the tavern, it all came out as a total accident, just a brutal misunderstanding, because he never wanted to raise a hand on his own family. Alma tries to cool the whole situation, promising he'll just slip out of the empire quietly. No drama, no scene, but Keith shuts her down. He tells Alma he hasn't changed a bit, and it totally blindsides the kid. Keith shrugs it off and straight up admits he doesn't care at all about what went down back at the tavern. With a wild, crazy stare, he turns to Alma and blurts out that he wants to beat him to death. Right here, right now. Alma can't wrap his head around it. His own brother is saying this, and he just freezes there, completely stunned as Keith begins channeling magic, and he blurts out that he's always hated him for real. Keith snaps, calls him an incompetent bastard, spits out "die," and then he hurls a massive burst of energy straight at Alma, but almost stays calm, clocking that move as a lightning ball in. Even though it's a simple spell, he knows the real power doesn't come from the words. It comes from the guy who casts it. Keith's mind races as he hears his own title, Purple Lightning Wizard, and his grin says it all. Nobody better mess with him because So he fires off this massive blast that floods the whole street in blinding light. Keith keeps smirking like he just nailed it, convinced he's finally done, until once the smoke finally fades, a massive stone slab stands dead center in the road. Alma slammed earth magic down and yanked up a rock shield just before the danger hit. Keith is totally spiraling, demanding how that kid could possibly know how to use earth spells. Alma stays totally calm and tells him she's been training in secret for a while now. So what happens next? That hits Keith hard. Earth magic steamrolls his lightning, and he can't stop pressing, asking when this whole thing even began. Keith starts spiraling, ranting that he's done with Alma's attitude. And then he grumbles that his little brother keeps outshining him with better results. Keith is ranting. He absolutely despises being compared to his little brother, and it makes him feel so sick he can barely stand it. Alma just stays quiet as Keith blurts out the exact moment he realized Alma didn't get a special gift from the gods. Keith erupts into maniacal laughter, openly admitting that finding out his brother was a failure makes him feel absolutely amazing. He starts channeling raw power and spits that the family name would be shattered if some loser like Alma were allowed to stay alive. With a chilling, horror-struck stare, Keith leans in and tells the kid he's ending it. Right now, right here. Alma spots the spell Keith is about to unleash, and panic hits hard. People are still right there, but Keith doesn't flinch. He screams that he'll blast through a few bystanders if it's the price to win. He shoots his hand up and shouts his lightning spell, El Regan, watching the power roar to life and build. Alma snaps to the truth. This thunder spear isn't for show. It's built to blast straight through his earth shield, and he's spiraling into full panic. If even one of those bolts misses, the innocent people out on the street are going to get absolutely wrecked. Keith's eyes go feral as he screams at Alma to burn to ashes, But he finally unleashes that massive lightning blast, detonating it into a roaring explosion that hurls rocks flying in every direction. Smoke starts pouring up from the giant crater carved into the center of the street. Keith just scoffs at the wreckage, convinced he's already won the fight, but when he leans in and looks again, he freezes. His brother is totally gone from the exact spot where he just blasted. Keith snaps and starts yelling at the top of his lungs, demanding to know where the hell the kid is hiding, and he whips his eyes across the rooftops, burning with rage, but the guy is nowhere to be found. Alma actually slips in behind the crowd safely. Then he bullies everyone out of the way with pure momentum. He yanked a no-chant teleport spell, whisked everyone to safety, and somehow Keith never even clocked that he'd moved. Saving that many people in silence is starting to crush him. Alma stares at the smoking crater, and it hits him. His brother Keith is seriously incredible, but he knows he can't let one more innocent person get dragged into this nightmare. Keith's drenched in sweat, whipping his eyes around like he's losing it, while Alma keeps apologizing. Then Keith snaps, "Enough, I'm taking you down now." Alma just stands there, hands clasped tight, silently gearing up to unleash her. Meanwhile, Keith is still planted in the middle of the street, lightning crackling all around him as he screams for Alma to finally show up. Alma stares him down, then admits it. Her brother's lightning magic is straight up terrifyingly powerful. And even though Keith is flexing like crazy, there's this huge opening screaming right there. Alma just appears behind him and casually blurts, "Yep, I'm right here. Can't you see me?" Keith whips around in pure shock, yelling how the hell he even ended up behind him, but Alma won't answer him. She just throws it back at Keith and says, "All right, it's your turn to attack." Keith snaps at Alma, calling her an idiot, and insists there's no point raising the alarm if he's already setting up a surprise attack. But Alma just throws back from the roof, "I only told you where he was," because in his mind, the fight is already done. Keith gasps, stares up in pure disbelief, and struggles to force even a single word out. Alma ignites his earth magic, and the ground rips apart completely. He fires off rock prison, and huge stone pillars erupt from the dirt, slamming shut to trap Keith inside. Keith suddenly realizes he's trapped, surrounded and sealed in by an unforgiving wall of rock, and he starts losing it, snarling at Alma not to look down on him as he thrashes to break free, screaming all the way. Alma doesn't even flinch. He just slams lightning into his magic and he fires the press lock, and those massive rocks slam shut like a steel trap, crushing everything trapped inside. Keith is trapped in that rock prison, and he's losing his mind, because he can't even wrap his head around how Alma pulls off lightning magic. Alma stares him down and asks, "Did you actually see what's happening right now?" Because turns out Keith's huge lightning blast earlier didn't just shock the battlefield. It magnetized every mineral buried underground. Alma tells him, "I'm only feeding the trap with my lightning, boosting my earth magic so it can't be broken." Alma scoops up the kid she just saved and hauls him to safety while her brother is left trapped, stuck in place. The older folks in the village can't stop smiling. They tell Alma he's an absolute lifesaver and thank him nonstop. But Alma stares at the ground, guilt crushing him, and spills out an apology because he's convinced the entire fight was his fault. The villagers won't let him spiral into self-blame. They grab his attention and tell him to lift his face up. No matter how it all began, one truth hits hard. He's the one who stood up, took action, and saved them. Alma hears them, and at last, a small smile breaks across her face as she whispers a quiet thank you, and the pressure finally starts to melt away. Keith starts cracking from inside his rock prison, screaming at Alma to finally tell him what the hell is going on. He demands to know how Alma got this much magic in the first place, and presses for answers, demands to know if he's been hiding his true strength from them this entire time. Keith is spiraling out of control, drowning in the guilt that he let his father down and couldn't live up to the sage title. Then he snaps and yells at Alma like she's the one looking down on him. He keeps barking at him to answer, but Alma just freezes in place, utterly crushed and lifeless. Almost starts to flash back to their younger days, back when Keith would show off his lightning magic like it owned the sky. And he broke it down. This wasn't just for throwing down. It could actually shove things around like it had a mind of its own. Back then, Alma stared up at him with pure admiration, convinced it was just two brothers grinding day and night, with a little friendly competition to keep them sharp. But once Keith's brother's face hit him, it was painfully clear. He'd been crushed completely. With everything spiraling, Alma slams down one massive decision. He's ditching the Empire and charging east, ready to get away from the continent for good. Alma blurts, "Please don't follow me," then turns and snaps that he's actually headed west. He shuts his eyes tight and vows he'll never, ever witness his brother's terrifying lightning magic again. Keith completely loses it and screams at the top of his lungs that since Alma said west, he has to be heading east. Keith keeps screaming that Alma's an idiot, swearing he'll hunt him down and beat him no matter where he runs. Making Alma's smile still on his face, he watches his brother wave, what a simple guy, and tells him, "Take care." Alma turns and strides off, shrinking into a tiny dot on the horizon, while everyone else stays frozen in place. One of the guys stares in disbelief and blurts out that Alma really disappeared. The story slides into a calm corner of town, where the shopkeeper is just posted up at his stall, casually chilling, like nothing's about to happen, and that's exactly what makes it scary. Alma stands beside a horse-drawn carriage, clutching his gear, and he's ready to finally kick this journey into gear. The driver gestures toward the road out of town, and Alma steels himself to burn down his old life and ride out. Almost sinks into the back of the horse-drawn carriage as it finally lurches into motion, clutching a leaning-back posture. He scans the carriage interior, and in his head he can't stop thinking, "This is my first ever long ride in a coach." Right across from him, a girl with a ribbon headband sits stone calm and super focused, like she's got something serious on her mind, and has. The moment Alma catches sight of her reflection, he's hit with a jolt of certainty. He saw her in the plaza earlier, no doubt about it. He starts to feel weirdly uneasy about the coincidence, especially when he catches her just glaring at him, and he can't help wondering if she's got a reason for it. Suddenly, a voice outside the carriage demands their attention, as if something urgent just caught them off guard, right as the moment starts slipping away. Right when the driver's attention starts to drift, two armored guards roll up and demand he listen, because a dangerous wizard is supposedly lurking right in the area. The lead guard wastes no time. He cuts straight to it and demands they prove exactly who's really on board. Alma and the girl both jolt forward, craning their necks as the guards kick off their inspection, and the commotion turns real. The guard kicks things off by grilling the vest-wearing guy, demanding, "Do you have any ID on you?" The man proudly introduces himself as Tristan from West Farms and claims the woman beside him is his wife. While he starts to freak out because he has zero ID, and he even thinks about using teleportation to bolt. Right, just as the guard snaps his attention to the back of the carriage, he leans in and demands the kids tell their story. Alma is seconds from snapping. Then out of nowhere someone yells, "Brother." The ribbon girl snaps into action, leaning in hard right in front of him like she's taking full control of everything. She raises a card to the guard and declares, "I'm Luna from the West Flanders territory." Then she jabs her finger straight at Alma and declares, loud and clear, that he's just her younger brother. The guard eyes them up and down as Alma sweats through her skin, praying the lie sticks. Alma finally clocks that she's basically bailing him out, probably because she wants to thank him for helping her back at the plaza. The guard slams the final check down and shouts that everyone's good to go. Everyone can move out now. The carriage lurches forward, then finally slips out past the castle gates, leaving the whole city behind. Once they're finally safe, Alma whips around to Luna and tells her, "You really saved my skin back there." Then he steps up and introduces himself, Alma for real, and says, "I saw you at the plaza earlier." Luna looks all bashful and blurts out a shaky apology for everything that happened between you two before. Alma lets out this giant sigh, straight up admitting that that whole situation has him trembling with nerves. Then it gets freaky. Those glowing squares and thin lines start drifting around him like they're alive. Luna just locks her gaze forward, and those eyes hit with sudden, intense fire. Alma snaps to a tiny whisper from her lips, and it sounds exactly like she's trying to say, "Teleport." He catches her muttering under her breath, Then, just like that, everything starts to change. Luna starts muttering under her breath, totally stunned that someone can unleash high-level space magic on an entire group without even chanting. Then she spirals into disbelief over the huge range of spells and the razor-sharp judgment it must have taken to pull it off. She stared off, lost in thought, trying to figure out what it would really mean if this person was who they claimed. The carriage lurches over a nasty bump, and she blurts out Alma's name like a scream. Luna snaps her gaze onto him, her expression all seriousness, and blurts that she needs to ask him a favor. Alma doesn't even look that shocked. She just tells him she already expected him to bring it up, but he keeps repeating the words favor back to her, even as doubt creeps into his voice while he waits for her to speak again. Luna locks eyes with him and stares him down, more determined than ever. Then she says his name one last time. She doesn't waste a second. She tells him, straight to the point, she wants him back on her territory. Alma shoots a confused look at the sudden invite and blurts out, "Why him? Why are you asking me specifically?" While Luna just stares down, she finally starts to spill the real reason. Because what's coming next is huge. Luna locks eyes with him and drops the truth. She's got a job only someone with his exact skills can handle. He's almost cracked the whole puzzle. Then he points out how it totally explains why she went out of her way earlier to pull him out of those guards. But that comment slams into Luna like a wave, and suddenly they're both locked in stunned silence, staring at each other like they've lost the plot. She starts to panic, flailing her hands as she blurts that she never meant the job to be some kind of trade for all the help she gave him. Alma can't shake the feeling that this request came at the worst possible time, and somehow, that feels unfair as hell. And it hits harder when Luna looks down, cheeks burning, and mumbles that she was only trying to pay him back for what he did. It hits him as hilarious, so he bursts into laughter. Then she finally asks what's so funny, and deep down, he's already decided he's going to help her. But he still has to face the fact that people are hunting him, because if they catch up, they'll dump a whole storm of trouble straight on Luna's doorstep. And she clocked his hesitation right away, hanging her head as she admits the invite came out of nowhere. She makes it crystal clear. He doesn't need to rush. If there's anything else he has to take care of first, go handle it. Almost sinks into silence in the carriage, lost in the thought that, finally, there's something he genuinely wants to do. It slams him with the memory of the choice he made in his past life, training like a maniac, mastering magic with everything he had, just so he could finally be happy this time. And now, looking back, he realizes something terrifying. He never truly figured out what he was meant to do with all that power. So he decides to go straight to Luna and ask her what happiness really means to her. Luna squints at his random question, totally thrown off, and fires back, "Why are you bringing this up out of nowhere?" So Alma tells her it's just for reference, and that single line makes her halt. Then she starts thinking, right there in the moment. When she finally snaps back and says, "It's family," Alma's jaw drops, because the answer is way too simple for how shaken she's been. She goes on, totally gushing about how much she loves the people back in Flanders, and she admits her only real wish is simple. She just wants her friends and family to stay happy forever. Then she glances over and asks if that finally answers his question, leaving him blinking in shock at how crystal clear her goals are. Alma can't stop replaying what she said, that she's happy when her family is happy, and then he tells her, "That's such a beautiful way to live." Tristan blurts out from across the carriage, saying he's been there, and that Alma's been getting crushed by his older brother. For a split second, both of them are totally caught off guard. So Tristan blurts out an apology and admits he couldn't help overhearing their conversation. His face tightens into a serious stare, and he admits he doesn't know every single detail about what really went down, but finally, he blurts out the question. Was it really true that Alma got kicked out of his own home? The carriage suddenly goes silent as Tristan blurts out, wondering if the whole trip is really just meant to get Alma her revenge. Alma stares at his own hands, clenching them hard as he admits he's absolutely furious about how everything turned out. He admits that after betrayal shattered him and stole everything he'd fought for, something deep inside still won't let him go, because he refuses to wreck the town that raised him, or harm a single person who still calls it home, no matter what goes down. Luna just stares at him with that gentle smile like she always knew, because somehow he's the kindest person around. Alma stares down, swallowing his pride, admitting he doesn't have the guts to pull off revenge, so he rushes to Luna and apologizes, saying he needs a little time to process her request, and begs her to give him just one night. Luna nods like she understands, then tells him, "Just tell me what you decide tomorrow." And the carriage keeps rolling down the road. Alma turns to her, a wave of gratitude hitting her as she tells her, "Thank you for being so patient." And even as the two of them sit there, he swears, straight up, that by next morning he'll give her the final answer. Back at the estate, Keith completely snaps. He's losing his mind and screaming for his father, and rage is ripping through him as he shakes, demanding his father finally gives him the green light to go out and take Alma down. But right then, a maid bursts into the room to report what's going on, and she reveals that the Lord himself ordered Alma back home, and it sends Keith into total shock. Everything flipped in an instant once the truth hit the streets. Keith didn't just lose. Alma crushed him in their fight. Lord Fellows sinks into his library chair, staring into the thoughts about how Alma's insanely high power could still boost the family's reputation, even if that kid's got no talent at all. Back in the hall, Keith snaps, claws his fists so tight they're trembling in his hands. Just repeat. He kept muttering to himself that this whole situation was straight up garbage. He realizes one thing fast. If Alma actually comes back home, everything snaps right back to the old chaos. And for him, it could even get worse, so he whips his head back at the maid, wears a grim, shadowy look, and launches into a slick lie, claiming he's heading east. Then he snaps to a stop, leans in, and tells her word for word what to deliver, so his father hears every single thing he has to say. Today, Keith orders her to report that Alma is riding west toward the familiar territory, and the maid just nods like, "Got it." Keith stands there, drenched in sweat, eyes locked on the moment, because the reality is finally crashing down on him, and because he just realized he crossed a terrifying line. He'd gone and plotted against his own father, for real. He's freaking out at how messed up his own plan is, but deep down he's grinning, because now only he knows the truth. Alma is actually heading east. Keith clenched his fist to his chest, and the thought hit him hard. Once he'd made this choice, there was no turning back, and as he grins a pretty dark, wicked grin, he plots exactly how he'll make Alma pay for every ounce of humiliation he's been swallowing lately. He struts down the hallway, laughing like a true villain, and doesn't realize his so-called fake report is dead on, 100% correct about Alma's route. So the family's pursuer actually tracks Alma's trail west, exactly like Keith swore he would. But because Keith thinks he lied, he storms off to the east alone, hunting for a brother who, it turns out, isn't even there. A short time later, the story darts away from the family drama because Alma is already sprinting toward his next huge stop on the road, Talistella. It's a giant trade city, where crowded streets choke with life and market stalls sprawl as far as the eye can see. Once he steps through the door, Alma slams a pile of coins onto the counter to lock in a place to stay. The guy at the desk leans in and tells him he's got everything. One night in a room at the end of the hall, ready to go. He just stared at his new room, shell-shocked, like, "I dropped 2,000 gold on the innkeeper, and I've got barely 1,000 left." So yeah, after ditching the empire, he finally clicks. Stopping in Talistella, this trade city, is basically his only shot. He starts spiraling with stress, because if he can't scrape together some quick cash, his whole journey is about to slam into a dead end. But if they've already got his family sending people to hunt him down, then he doesn't have time to wander through some long, drawn-out quest. He's planted by the window, staring out like, should I just hunt down a dungeon and dive in right now? But right then, he shuts it down. No way a dungeon packed with loot like that is anywhere close to this place. The second he blurts out treasure, a flashback from his past life slams into place. He jerks up his hand as everything starts to warp, and he pours every ounce of power into spatial magic and shouts, "Item box," like it's about to unlock a whole new world. A black cube materializes above his palm the second. A digital menu starts loading, blasting a big welcome message onto the screen. Then he peers into the dimensional storage space he just cracked open, ready to discover what's waiting inside. Alma stared as his storage space rippled to life under his mana. Because the box size didn't just show up, it scaled with his magical power. So when he checks everything and finally lets out this huge sigh of relief, he realizes the whole mess from his old life survived the journey just fine. In his old life, he always leaned on that item box when things spiraled out of control, but nobody could have guessed it would show up right now and feel so perfectly timed. A pile of monster materials and rare parts sprawls across the bed, and the sight alone makes your jaw drop. Just wait. Alma thinks that if he sells a bit of this, his money troubles will be gone for good. Then, just as he keeps scrolling down the list, it hits him. This might be a real problem, because some of this stuff is straight up insane. His inventory is stuffed with legendary weapons, like the Dragon God Sword and the Sea God Spear. And he knows that if he lets even one slip out, it could trigger a total disaster. So he grabs one specific item, praying it won't turn into a whole disaster once he starts showing it around here. He tells himself it's just that normal monster hunt material, totally safe, right? But then doubt slams into him. What if it's that rare, and this whole city won't even have a clue how to price it? Alma thought, why not? And stared at the monster part in his hand like it was a shot at fate, and he decides, all right, and plans to storm over to the local guild tomorrow morning as soon as the doors swing open. He pauses by the window as the sun starts to sink, birds cutting across the sky above the buildings. Right nearby, Luna lies in bed, eyes locked on the ceiling, and you can practically feel the storm of thoughts weighing on her. She whispers tomorrow to herself, eyes locked ahead, already bracing for whatever the next day is about to unleash. The very next morning, the Talistella Adventurers Guild is already roaring with life. Folks crowd in to trade gear and snatch up jobs. Alma steps in and immediately clocking the chaos. This town is a massive crossroads, so of course everyone from everywhere piles in. So he starts scanning for where they sell the materials, but he's so lost in thought that he crashes straight into someone. A gigantic monster head crashes to the floor with a thunderous thump, and Alma immediately blurts out apologies like she's responsible for the whole disaster. The adventurer groans on the ground while Alma keeps blurting, I'm sorry, fully realizing she just knocked a man down and dropped the guy's kill. Alma's face tightens with worry after the collision, and she rushes up to ask if the guy's okay. So the adventurer just laughs it off, sweating under the crushing weight of his kill, and says he's the one who should be begging for forgiveness, because that massive load he hauled just blocked his view and hid the kid. Alma sizes the guy up, and boom, he clocks him as about his own age, dressed in clunky bargain bin gear that screams newbie the second he steps out, like he just snatched his gift and has no clue what he's doing. He catches a fresh scratch across the guy's face and can't help wondering, did he earn it in a fight with some monster? And then Alma drops his head, apologizes through the weight in his voice, and admits he's sorry for smearing the guy's monster materials all over the floor. He tells him, it's fine, shrugging like the boar he hunted was a grizzled monster anyway. He steps in, introduces himself as Raoul the Adventurer, and shoots you a warm, friendly smile while insisting that Alma definitely doesn't look like he belongs in this part of town. Alma steps up and tells everyone straight up, he's not here for trouble, he just wants a place to unload his monster materials, and yeah, he's hauling so. So Raoul flashes a thumbs up and tells him, I'm headed to the exact same place, come on, I'll show you the way. As they head down the road, Raoul's jaw drops when he learns Alma trekked all the way from Alistella, only for Alma to sheepishly admit he'd burned through his money mid-trip. Raoul trudges along with his catch, looking worn out, and asks if it's really Alma's first time stepping into the guild, and then he leans in and straight up asks whether Alma is really planning to sign on as a full-time adventurer. Raoul's question almost throws him off for a second, but he quickly clears it up. He's not here to join the guild. He's going to ditch the big dream, sell off his materials for quick cash, then bolt straight for the familiar territory thinking that, yeah, it sounds like a solid idea, until he spots Raoul staring like he's about to panic and snaps, "Wait, what's wrong?" Raoul forces himself to play it cool and tells them straight up that this guild is packed way beyond its size. Like, it can't possibly hold all that crowd, which has forged a brutally messed up pecking order among the members. And Raoul's been getting slammed by it nonstop lately. Raoul admits that if Alma really wanted to enlist, he'd have gone out of his way to talk him out of it. And that hits Alma like a realization. Turns out Raoul is actually way nicer than you'd expect. Then the older guy snaps his head back and spots Alma, looking worn down and way too rough. He figures that kid got absolutely smashed by the boar he's dragging around. And then he notices Alma's bruises sprawled all over his body, and the kid blurts out a shaky, nervous sound. Raoul just shrugs it off with a laugh, insisting the bruises didn't come from the hunt, and he doesn't even know how he's supposed to explain it. Raoul swings his gaze ahead, spots their destination, and points out the receptionist already waiting behind the counter. The woman behind the desk snaps her gaze up and asks, straight out, if they've come to sell monster materials. She stays cool and asks Alma straight up if he's got his official guild registration card ready to show. Turns out the guild only deals with registered members, so Raoul's stuck in the back, looking totally out of place. The receptionist tells him, "We can inspect your stuff today if you finish the registration first." Alma realizes he doesn't want a single thing to do with that whole adventure social ladder or all that annoying drama. But as Raoul taps his shoulder, it hits him that he might not have a choice. Not anymore. Just as the moment is about to move. To snag her attention, he winked at the receptionist and told her he'd just lend the kid his own registration card for the trade. He tries to play it cool, tells Alma he can just sell the monster parts under his name because the lady behind the desk surely won't remember every face that walks in. But then, Alma just stares at him with a shaky, unsure look, and you can tell she doesn't feel good about him trying to pull a fast one right in front of her. Turns out he had every reason to worry, because the receptionist snaps in right away, tells them she can hear every word they're yelling, and that it's way too loud and all. Alma just stands there and tells them to take those shady talks somewhere else next time, and he can't help thinking Raoul might be the absolute worst at sneaking around. Raoul finally lets out a shaky sigh of relief the moment she explains it's not against the rules, because the very hunter of the stuff is standing right there. She slams the official papers down with a thunderous thud, then barks, "Head to the warehouse. Let the pros lay eyes on everything all at once." And they move straight to, slip to the back, where the gigantic beast parts are strapped tight and dangling from the ceiling like trophies. The appraiser starts poking at the details, and sure enough, a run-of-the-mill beastly boar usually fetches around 5,000 gold. Yet this one feels like it could be worth way more. The appraiser surveys the haul and tells Raoul the brutal truth. With so many boars flooding the market this year, their tusks and nails will only bring in 3,500 gold. Raoul kicks back with a grin and shrugs, "Totally fine. Just make sure it pays for my next few meals." And the old guy can only sigh, because Raoul is still the same guy with 0 greedy bones in his body. He keeps poking at the catch, trash-talking the boar like it's totally ragged, calling the whole thing a disgrace. Then he turns the attention like he's about to snap into the next move. So Raoul meets his gaze head-on and demands to know why he's not hunting down some real, massive monsters for once, instead of wasting his time on these little guys. He tells Raoul his skills are so solid they can crush fights way tougher than this, but Raoul just shrugs it off with a grin, telling the old man to quit fretting and check out what Alma is doing instead. The appraiser snaps his focus to the kid and just doesn't buy it at all. He claims it only looks like Alma's standing there messing with his own hands. Alma doesn't even glance up, just tells them to hang tight, because he's seconds away from finishing his picks, and the other two just stand there, baffled beyond words, because it turns out they can't even see the transparent magic board Alma is crafting right in front of them. Almost in the blink of an eye, they yank a weird black cube straight out of thin air. Then liquid starts dripping off it, while the appraiser and Raoul just freeze there, completely stuck in place, unable to move and staring. Raoul starts snapping, screaming where that thing even came from, demanding to know if it's some magic trick, while Alma keeps cutting through the chaos, telling him it's absolutely not a trick. The appraiser suddenly leans in, eyes blazing wide, because the kid isn't just carrying anything. He's actually using a legendary item box. He clamps his hands on Alma's shoulders and roars that it's unbelievable for someone his age to pull off magic this high level, while the other two just freeze, utterly baffled. So Alma asks if the magic is really even that big of a deal, and the old man snaps like a snapped wire, then erupts in a furious yell for being totally clueless. The appraiser flat out says that owning an item box is basically a guaranteed pass. Since Raoul's fired up, he blurts to Alma that he's even more incredible than he ever imagined. Alma tries to brush it off, claiming it's just a handy trick and he's probably got zero talent for this. But the appraiser barrels right in, eyes locked on the items Alma just pulled out. Raoul grabs one look at the stuff on that table and immediately erupts into screams because he can't. He can't believe his eyes. He's staring at a real fire dragon's tail, scales and all. And the appraiser's even saying the heap includes a demon general's loincloth plus a couple of obsidian bear fangs. Alma spots the appraiser's expression shift, and the moment he lays out those items, she realizes they're nothing like the usual stuff people see around here. And he starts scratching his head, blurting out, maybe these materials aren't even worth that much, like the thought just hit him. The appraiser and Raoul slam into his space, snapping and screaming in his face that he's an idiot, because the truth is the total opposite of what he's so sure about. An old man interrogates the kid about why he's hauling around rare treasures you can't even buy anywhere. And when Raoul blurts out that a fire dragon is a terrifyingly high-level threat, Alma just keeps nodding as their shouting rolls on. The appraiser keeps talking, warning that a fire dragon is so deadly even low-level hunters would get scorched to a crisp just by standing nearby. Then, out of nowhere, the old man slams his stuff down and pleads with Alma to let the guild buy it all, right now. He starts rambling that he just knows Alma's shopping around at different spots to find the best price, because he's just two. He's panicking that if he blows this one shot, he'll never get these items back again. So Alma steps in and tells him, calm as ever, go ahead and sell it to them. You're fine. The appraiser can't believe his luck. He bursts out in a scream, demanding the kid prove he's dead serious about the deal. That's when Alma steps in and tells him, it's totally fine. Just get up and stop crawling around on the floor like you're unhinged. The appraiser starts breaking down, wiping at his eyes as he begs Alma for one more second, promising him a killer price if he'll just let him wrap up the job first. The old man hunches over his desk, throws every ounce of his focus into scrutinizing those rare materials. Rael snaps, screaming the final price of $2.5 million at the top of his lungs, mouth hanging wide open as he loses control. He tells Alma he's never even laid eyes on that much money in one spot before, and even Alma can't quite wrap her head around it either. Alma scans the report, and then her eyes widen, because that single piece of material could be worth a full fortune. So it all comes down to this. The stuff sitting in his item box was worth way more than he ever guessed, so he shuts his mouth tight about his past. The appraiser blurts out that it's been ages since he's laid hands on something this incredible, especially since kept locked inside an item box so the condition never wavered. The old man breaks down into fresh sobs the moment he lays eyes on it. He tells the two of them to run to the front desk with the report, because he's got barely any cash on him, so they'll have to handle the rest. So Alma shoots him a respectful bow, then thanks him for going above and beyond with the appraisal. The appraiser snaps his gaze away, voice cracking as he tells Alma, no, you don't get it. I'm the one who should be thanking you. But then the receptionist screams $2.5 million. And the whole guild freezes mid-breath, staring like their eyes can't believe it. While they wait for the cash, the guys duck out for food, and Raoul's guilt hits hard because Alma is footing the bill for his lunch. But Alma tells him not to stress, because the truth is, without him in the picture, that appraisal never would have landed as well as it did. Alma even offers to toss him a commission, but Raoul shuts it down fast, telling him to drop the formalities and just use his name since they're the same age. They crowd around the table, shoving food down to the last bite, just burning time, while the guild staff scrambles to stack that mountain of money. Raoul blurts out questions mid-bite, staring at the fancy materials like, "Where did Alma even get this?" And then pushing harder with, "Wait, did you really fight that monster yourself?" Alma realizes he can't exactly spill the truth about being a reincarnated prodigy, so he shuts the door on his past life and keeps it locked away. "Raoul, I spun you a fake story. Said your parents gifted you those items before they kicked you out for good." Raoul bites on the bait, and the moment he looks at her, his face crumples. He tells Alma it sounds like he's been dragged through nothing but trouble. Raoul feels terrible for prying into her business, shoots out an apology for his rudeness. Then Alma waves it off like it's nothing. And honestly, right now he's grateful. His parents kicking him out turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him. Raoul stares him down, chuckles a bit, and tells Alma, "You're seriously strong, like insanely strong. Seeing things that bright isn't just lucky, it's strength. Raw and unstoppable." He glances aside for a heartbeat, then admits it. He'd give anything to have that same kind of strength. Alma spots something off and shoots Raoul a question. "Is this about the bruises I'm seeing on your body?" And it totally throws Raoul for a loop, forcing him to admit that the old man in the shop said the exact same thing, that he can't take on stronger enemies. He finally tells the truth about his fear. His body starts trembling the second he's facing someone who's stronger than him. He's not clueless or unready. He's got his own shot at winning, and he knows exactly what's coming, but the second he even fears the enemy is stronger, or that he might lose, panic claws into his nerves. Raoul admits his body just locks up on him. He gets so jammed that he straight up can't move at all. He scratched his head, and finally admitted that maybe adventurer life just wasn't made for him. But it slams into him and says, "If you're strong, then Raoul's strong too. There's no doubt." That comment slams into Raoul out of nowhere, freezing him mid-step in pure, total shock as Alma tells him he's the best guy she's ever met, because he spent the entire day out there helping strangers. He points out that being that kind of person isn't something most people can pull off without breaking a sweat. And if you're trying to build a truly unstoppable party, you'd be crazy not to snag Raoul, because anyone who's got him on their side is walking into power. Alma can't stop replaying it. He's been a loner his whole life, even back in his past life, never having a real crew, not once, but then he snaps his focus back to Raoul, telling him that sensing danger fast is exactly what turns someone into a real warrior. He caps it off with a brutal truth: the adventurers who never know when to quit, they're the ones who wind up dead. Alma locks eyes with him and tells Raoul that one day he's going to level up into a top-tier adventure all on his own, and he even offers to vouch for him personally. Raoul just freezes, staring him down like that support hit straight in the heart. He flashed a grateful smile and thanked him for the compliment, but inside he couldn't ignore it. Alma's got this vibe that makes him look way older than their whole generation. Alma finally clicks, because after living 100 years in his past life, he's now over a century old. The two of them just freeze in the guild for a breath. Then this dude's voice slices through the room, all mocking like, "So how's it going, huh? How's a little nobody like you doing?" A crew of rough-looking dudes struts in like they own the whole place, and right away, Raoul looks absolutely on edge, while Alma just stands there, trying to piece together what's happening, until this massive dude with a jagged scar across his face slams to a stop right in front of them, looming over the. They sized him up, glanced down, and threw Raoul a super casual greeting like it was no big deal. Raoul is visibly rattled, blurting out to the big guy Evan that he really was gonna pay this month's fee soon. But then Evan shrugs it off for now, and Raoul just stands there, totally stunned, no clue what the heck that guy is after. He whips his focus to Alma and tells her, "I heard about that kid who hauled a mountain of stuff into the shop earlier today." And he goes on about how wild it is that even people outside the guild are talking about him. while Raoul just awkwardly nods along. Evan flashes a smug grin and tells them right to their faces that this guild only runs on one strict set of rules, and it's all about to be their problem. Every adventurer here has to chip in a fee, so when trouble hits, you can rely on the whole group to back you up. He leans in even closer and tells Alma, "Since I'm the new guy in town, you're gonna cover my registration fee right now." He slammed his hand on their table, loomed over their lunch, and made it crystal clear he wasn't playing around. His face contorts as he glares at Raoul, demanding to know what the hell he thinks he's doing, hanging out with this kid. But Alma just flashed a tiny smirk, locked eyes with Evan, and told him flat out he's completely wrong about how this is going down. Raoul lunges in to end the chaos, snapping at the thugs that Alma isn't some adventurer at all. She's just a client the guild has hired today, and because he's not a member, there's zero reason he should fork over a single cent to those made-up fees. That thought totally won't sit right with Evan. His face contorts as he tells Raoul, "You're asking for it now." He yanks Raoul up by the head, laughs at him for getting cocky just because they scored some cash, and growls that it's time for round 2 of getting beaten. Raoul yells at Alma to run, but the kid just freezes on the spot, utterly lost, not a clue what these guys are even saying. Right then, the receptionist girl snaps across the room and yells that the paperwork is a mess. Alma has to run to the desk immediately. She locks eyes with him, stone-faced, daring him to think of some way to slip out of the trouble. Raoul juts up, his chair screeching as it drags across the floor, and tells Alma to go on. He'll stay back to knock out a little unfinished business. After a friendly pat on the shoulder and a quick, warm smile, he leaned in and promised, "I'll see you around later." Once the tension finally snapped, Evan and his crew surged for the exit, heavy doors clanging shut right behind them as they burst out of the building. He almost freezes on the spot, stunned out of his mind, while the receptionist can't meet his eyes and looks totally stressed out. He glances down and spots it. Raoul shoved something into his hands just before he vanished, leaving him to deal with the thugs. And it turns out that was Raoul's adventurer card, so he hands it over like it's nothing, leaving the kid staring at him like, "Why would you give that away?" Alma can't stop replaying the terrified look on Raoul's face from just a second ago. Something's definitely gone terribly wrong. The receptionist leans in close and drops the truth. Those 3 guys are actually some of the rarest B-rank adventurers left in the whole city. She tells him that, yeah, they're top-tier fighters, but their behavior is an absolute nightmare. And the buzz is wild. People say they've been shaking down adventurers for their rewards, hitting them with adventurers' fees like it's no big deal. Apparently, if you refuse, they turn you into a warning for everyone, because even the guild staff can't step in. Not when the talent is that terrifying. Alma stared at her and demanded, "So you only called him to the desk to help him slip out, huh?" She admits Raoul likely used himself as the bait to slip away, and even left his card behind so Alma would still get paid. The receptionist drags a heavy bag across the counter and tells Alma this is the full payment for his materials. She steps in close with a hard stare, drops her honest opinion and tells him, "Get out of there. Right now, don't waste a second." Meanwhile, in that alley, Raoul slumps against the wall, totally wiped out, while Evan looms over him and snarls that it's time to quit. Right now. Evan digs through Raoul's stuff, and the second he checks, he growls that the guy's basically broke. There's barely any money at all. And as he glares into that empty wallet, one of his thugs leans in and asks if they should turn around and snatch that kid instead. Raoul fights to stay upright, but pure terror pounds through him. His sword shakes so hard it's practically rattling in his grip. The thugs just stand there, roaring with laughter, trashing him for shaking while he tries to play it cool and act tough. Evan steps right into Raoul's space with a wicked grin, telling him to quit swinging and just join them. He leans in and starts making a deal, saying if he helps them out, he'll pocket a cut of the cash and maybe even snag a better rank. The plan's dead simple. Because the kid already trusts him, all Raoul has to do is lead him into the alley, and the thugs will handle the dirty work from there. Rael clenches his jaw, draws his sword with a sharp clang, and points it straight at the thugs below. But Evan is way faster. He whips a heavy fist across the air, smacks Raoul straight in the face, and sends him flying. He staggers back as Evan starts tormenting him, telling him to drop the tough act, obey, or die. Raoul is a total wreck, bleeding, gasping for air, and trembling so hard his hands won't stop. Then suddenly he bursts into laughter through the agony, shouting to the seniors that they have zero clue what they're really up against. Even though they've only just met, Raoul already sees it. Alma is on a whole different level compared to everyone else. He can't stop thinking about how Alma casually rocks high-level magic and snagging rare items like they're right there for the taking. He might have been booted out of his house, but the way he thinks and the energy he carries screams someone who, way more important than some regular rookie. Rael's mind spirals like, a guy like that, and he can't even finish the thought. He stared right at him and declared, "You could become a first-class adventurer," and he clenched his sword till his knuckles burned. Raoul yanks his sword free and plants his feet. No way he's letting Alma down now. Looking absolutely wrecked, he grits his teeth and swears he'll never shatter the kid's expectations. Then he decides, no matter how hard this ends, even if he gets killed right here, he'll go down as a true adventurer. But Evan's snapping. Rage is swallowing him whole, and he looks like he's about to tear everything apart. Standing over the kid, Evan sneers at him for cosplaying as a hero, while rage, all lies rot in a pool of blood, and Evan snaps that the guy's nothing but a nuisance, so they should kill him so they can use the slaves to track Alma later, while Evan lifts his sword and goes in to finish the job. Raoul's barely hanging on. He whispers an apology to Alma, convinced he's nothing but a failure. As his thoughts hit, everything around him starts to blur and fade, and he realizes becoming a top adventurer was nothing but a stupid dream. Right then, Alma storms in at the top of the stairs, seething with pure fury at what he just sees. Raoul snaps his eyes up from the floor, stunned to see Alma standing there. He can't believe the kid actually showed up. Evan smirks at the scene and laughs, thinking the kid's brave, maybe even stupid, enough to stroll in here all alone. Raoul lunges in to stop him, yelling at Alma to run, because those top-ranked adventurers in town don't care about anything except his money. But Evan snaps at him to shut up, then stomps a heavy boot straight into Raoul's back, thud, brutal, and the impact leaves Evan. Evan keeps barking at his crew to keep that guy alive, while Alma just stands there, staring. Her expression hardens fast into something cold and deadly serious. Evan smirks and shoots the kid a question. "So, are you ready to hand over all your money yet?" He figures $2.5 million is a pretty solid price for 2 lives. But Alma sure isn't buying it with any fear. Alma just plants his feet, staring down Evan and demanding, "So you're really the top drinking adventurer in this whole place?" He stares the guy dead in the eyes and snaps that he doesn't really look the part. And then Alma lets out a heavy sigh and says Evan's the exact type of guy who won't shut up, even when the enemy is right there in front of him. Evan's mood snaps in an instant, and he tells Alma it sounds like that kid wants nothing but trouble. He'd been ready to let him walk if he coughed up the money. But now he's done playing nice. He bellows a brutal roar and shouts for Peter and Jake to get ready. Peter snatches an iron skin drug bottle out of the air, whips the buff to his leader on the fly. As Jake shuts his eyes and unleashes his aggressive power magic, he cranks the physical boosts even higher for Evan. Evan erupts into wild laughter as his muscles bulge, and his skin starts to creak, towering over the kid, and he spits out that a sword was never his real weapon anyway. To prove he's right, he yanks the hilt of his own blade and smashes it into dust with one hand. Then, he starts bragging that his arms are as strong as an ogre's, and that his skin is so unbreakable no blade will ever pierce it. He leans down toward Alma and sneers that he's got zero chance of winning this fight, only for the kid to stand there, completely bored, like it's not even happening. Evan snaps, loses his patience, and rockets full speed across the floor right when. Then he winds up and hammers a massive fist straight for Alma's head, screaming for him to die, while the kid just stares back without even blinking. Alma doesn't even flinch. He just reaches out and snatches Evan's huge powered-up fist like it's nothing, freezing the brute in his tracks. Evan is totally stunned. He barely squeezes out a confused sound, and cold sweat immediately breaks out on his skin. The two lackeys in the crowd went completely berserk, screaming that no kid could just slam on the brakes like that. As he strains to hold the giant back, Alma's mind races. Back when he lived before, he truly believed magic was his only real strength. But then it hits him. This body he was born with this time is far stronger than any of the buffs Evan is throwing around right now. To prove it, he yanks Evan by the clothes and smashes his forehead straight into the guy's face, shattering his nose on the spot. Jake and Peter just freeze on the spot, mouths gaping, completely stunned by what they're witnessing. Evan's dazed, blood pours from his nose, and he can barely wheeze a sound, while Alma yanks his fist back for a brutal follow-up, and then he unleashes a punch, so blistering it whistles through the air like a bullet. The hit's impact is so wild that Peter and Jake can only freeze in place and stare, while their leader gets blasted clean off the ground. Evan lies face down in a massive crater carved into the back wall, while Peter and Jake just stand there, straight up frozen in place, like they can't even blink. Peter realizes those magic buffs and strengthening drugs still couldn't save Evan, so he snaps and tells Alma she's a total monster. Alma lets out a shaky sigh as his hand starts to throb, and he grimly realizes he's still nowhere near good at landing hits on people. Evan is in full denial. His brain can barely even keep up after getting absolutely wrecked in just 2 hits, but he grunts out a painful sound and yanks himself upright again, dragging his body back up like it won't quit. Alma watches him and casually says the guy's tougher than he looks, and as he pants and wheezes, Evan demands answers. Why would someone with power like that even waste time helping a nobody like Raul? Alma says nothing, just stands there eyes down, while the big guy keeps grilling him, demanding to know why he's doing all this, straight into. Alma finally slammed the brakes, staring like, wait, why am I this worked up over some guy I met today? It felt weird as hell to him, because in his old life, nothing even remotely like this ever happened. Evan snaps out of control and roars at his lackeys to chop Raul's head off the instant he gives the signal. Evan erupts into a maniacal laugh, jabs a finger right at Alma, and growls that he knows exactly what's going on, so Alma better not so much as twitch. Then he barrels straight into Alma's space, blares in her face and screams, "So you're really Raul's friend, or what?" Alma keeps whispering friend under his breath. Then it finally hits him. He doesn't just want to talk, he actually wants to be friends with the guy. He glances back at his old life and realizes he never even got one chance to talk to anyone. Even as the noble's 3rd son in this life, he still had people around him, but not one real friend until right now. He can't stop thinking about Raul, such a solid dude, always ready to throw himself in the line of fire for other people, never once putting his own needs first. Suddenly, it all clicks for Alma. He finally understands the truth. He just wants Raul and people like him to be happy. He can't stop thinking about the people back in his hometown of Flanders and how much he truly loves them. And it all comes down to one burning hope he's been clutching this whole time, like it's the last thing keeping him standing. So he just wants to make sure his friends and family stay happy, always. Evan stared at Alma and demanded to know if he'd gotten the same gift for physical enhancement too, since he admits the kid's got a stronger dose of raw power than he does. But then he jabs a finger at his head and says the truth every adventurer needs. It's about reading everyone like a book, then using it to your advantage, so every single moment stays on your side. He erupts into a maniacal laugh, then shouts that risking your life is just stupid, because the fight is already over before it even begins. Raul grit his teeth and snapped, "What the hell are you laughing at?" Alma just shrugs it off. "It's nothing. I just thought it was the other way around." Right as a brutal thud slams into the ground and Evan completely snaps. He's screaming at everyone to freeze, swearing he'll take Raul's head off right then and there. Almost keeps his cool and tells the guy straight up, His idea of happiness is the exact opposite of what Evan believes. Raoul stood there utterly stunned, while Alma made it crystal clear. One thing was absolutely certain. He meets his gaze head-on and declares, right there, that the fight is already over. Alma stares dead serious as the memories of a time way before he ever reached this place crash back into his mind. And then everything turns silent in a blink. Evan and his crew slam the ground hard. Alma casually asks, "So what's going on here?" While the guys in the back lose it, screaming for Jake and Peter to wake up. Alma doesn't even sweat. He just decides it's time to unleash his summon magic. And right in front of Evan, he summons a creature called Nightmare. While Evan just stands there trembling as everything he knows collapses into pure chaos. Moving over to Raoul, Alma fires off a recovery spell called Airy and snaps him back onto his feet. Raoul groggily forces himself upright, rubbing his pounding head like he can't believe what just happened. He's completely out of it. He whips his head around, demands what just happened, and boom, spots Evan nailed to the ground by these creepy black creatures. Raoul blurts out Alma's name, stunned out of his mind. Then the kid grins and tells him, "Those things are nightmares, creatures that gulp down dreams." Then he explains how they drag whoever they catch into their worst nightmare, make them watch it all unfold, while the things just sit back, soaking up every ounce of terror. Alma drops the bomb. He summoned those creatures himself and stashed them even before he ever showed up, and they're not backing off until they've had their fill of fear, leaving Raoul utterly stunned that a kid can pull off summoning magic. Down on the ground, Evan crumples and breaks. Sobs tear through him as he screams for his mom, and the nightmare finally swallows everything. He almost bursts into laughter, stunned by the wild stuff the guy must be seeing. While Raoul feels a little guilty for jumping in, he decides it's fine. Raoul glances at Alma and quietly apologizes, like he's been hit by guilt so hard it's choking him up. He was supposed to be the one saving the kid, but instead, everything flipped, and he ended up doing the worst kind of damage. He's staring at the floor, beating himself up, and calling himself pathetic for how everything went down. Alma shuts him down fast, then tells him the truth. She only came over to return something Raoul dropped, and that hits the guy like a curveball. He digs out an adventure registration card and fires off a quick question. "Raoul, tell me, is this the one you've been hunting for?" Staring straight at him, Alma makes Raoul a promise. One day he'll become an incredible adventurer, and she's 100% certain of it. Raoul is so choked up he snatches Alma's hand and tells the kid, "I owe you big time. Thank you for everything." 3 sharp knocks slam the door in quick succession, shattering the quiet morning like thunder. Luna swings the door open just a crack, and when she sees who's on the other side, her eyes widen in pure shock. She demands to know what's up with those guys, and Alma snaps back that he's just headed to drop them off at the guild. But he had to make a quick stop right here first, before he could wrap everything up with them. With a hard, serious stare, Alma tells her, he finally decided. And it all comes down to where she grew up, where it shaped everything about her. Right then and there, he makes it official. He's marching straight into Flanders territory. The next morning, he barely managed to roll up in bed, because a brutal hangover slammed into him like a wrecking ball. Once they decided to head to Luna's hometown, the 3 of them threw a massive send-off party, and then drank way too much. Alma presses 2 fingers to his forehead, and blasts her status heal magic, snapping the headache away in the blink of an eye. Alma tells himself it's time to get up and get ready to leave, but then he glances over, and boom, there's Luna right there in the bed beside him, still half asleep, groaning and rubbing her eyes as rolls toward him, and Alma completely freezes. Nervous sweat erupts as he locks eyes with her. She sinks deeper into the pillows, murmurs a sleepy good morning, and watches him freeze, stumbling over his reply. He clamps down on his panic, telling himself she just forgot to book for one more night. And yeah, he has to let her stay with him, so he keeps repeating over and over that nothing happened. Then Luna blushes and admits yesterday got seriously intense. Alma's head starts steaming as he completely snaps his cool. So he pleads with her to stop messing around before his heart finally gives out. And at last he powers through and finishes the tale of how they ended up here. Once the party finally died down, they ditched Talistella and blasted into the brutal long trip to Flanders, Luna's hometown. Roll rides right along, laughing at the tale, then blurts out, "Did you two ever actually make it to the guild?" Alma stares at him with a dead serious blank face, like she instantly erased that whole part of the plan from her mind. Back at the guild, a booming voice explodes from inside the building, screaming an apology for every last bit of trouble they've been causing lately. Turns out it's Evan and his crew, and they're sprawled on the floor in a deep bow, totally crushed. Evan's a total wreck, crying, sniffling, and falling apart as he finally admits they've done some truly monstrous things to people. Then, just like that, something flips in their heads, and they rush to repay every last coin they ever ripped out of people's pockets. Raoul just shrugs it off as Evan storms away, and Evan can't stop wondering what kind of wild nightmares those guys went through to turn into saints overnight. Raoul shrugs it off, admits he just went with the flow, then turns to Luna and asks, straight up, if she's really okay with him joining them. Luna pauses, then admits she's pretty sure more hands would help anyway, and she even adds with a surprised grin that Raoul is honestly better at it than anyone expects. Raoul's like, forget it, let's just form a whole new party right now. And Alma is left completely speechless because the thought of actually being at a party never even crossed his mind. Until this exact moment hit. Raoul's worry spikes. He blurts out, "So I can't join." And Alma just shrugs and says it's only because he's never actually been in a party before. Alma's mind crashes back to his past life, where he drilled day after day, training alone every single day so he could. So he leans in and tells Raoul, joining that party sounds like a blast, and just like that, he's officially in. Raoul snaps instantly, bursts out screaming that it's time to launch a gift ranking competition with all the members. Right before, it totally blindsides the other two. Then Raoul smirks and says he'll be the first to go. He spills the truth. His special gift is the Gale Swordsman, a power that everyone, but Alma clocks it as pure Vanguard fuel. It turbocharges sword training and even slips in a touch of wind magic. Raoul makes it crystal clear. This ritual is a huge deal, because whoever has the worst gift gets stuck paying for everyone's food but Alma can't stop thinking, why would Raoul take a joyful moment and slam it into a full-blown stress fest? Raoul breaks into a laugh, convinced he's already claimed the whole prize, then whips around to Luna and demands to know what her gift is. The moment it's revealed, Luna secretly wields the earth-shaking power of a sage. The whole vibe flips instantly. Raoul is losing his mind, screaming that this is the first real time he's ever met an actual sage, while Alma stands there, completely stunned, because this kind of thing is insanely rare, and he still remembers how badly he wanted that gift back in the day. Turns out, he wasn't the only one, because both of his older brothers were absolutely obsessed with getting it too, like showing. Luna flashes a cute little peace sign, but Alma can't stop trying to wrap her head around just how much power that guy's father truly has over the whole family. Yeah, that much. He never saw it coming. Somebody with a legendary gift like that was just casually out here, in a place like this. Luna flashes a sweet smile and swears the Gale Swordsman's gift is honestly awesome, but Raoul's face tightens with frustration, because he felt unstoppable right up until she came in and stole his spotlight. Raoul whips around to Alma next, certain there's some wild, ridiculous gift hiding in her too. Yet his confidence crumbles as he worries he's the weak link, while Alma fumbles for the right words and just can't seem to find them. And the pressure finally sinks in. His body almost breaks out in sweat as he realizes he's completely trapped by that question, like it's got him pinned in place as 100 different conflicts and worries crash into his mind all at once. Rahul and Luna stare at him, totally baffled, while Alma frets that if he tells the truth about his power, everyone's going to feel awkward around him. Even though he could totally fool them, he stops himself, because he doesn't want to betray his new friends with a single lie. Watching Alma struggle, Raoul steps in and tells him he doesn't have to force himself to say a word. If it doesn't feel right, he can just be honest about that. He adds, and if I change my mind, I'll just say it then. Then he glances at Luna for a second, trying to lock in her agreement while Luna just stares at them, laughs and admits she mainly wanted to brag too, then shrugs like, "I'm only being honest." Raoul flashes a huge smile, then thanks both of them for staying so calm about the whole mess. Luna grins and swears that one day she'll spill the whole story to both of them. Alma realizes he's stumbled into some genuinely amazing friends, or maybe he's just crazy lucky. But no matter what, they already trust him to be more than capable. Still, Raoul can't shake the question. How far does Alma's power really go? He knows the item boxes, the summoning, and the teleportation plus And yeah, the dude's general magic is already downright unreal, because he locks eyes with Alma and bluntly asks if there's anything at all he can't do, which kicks off. So Alma's stuck on one scary thought. With magic like his, he can basically do whatever he wants, which makes this question feel impossible. Raoul suddenly remembers this special magic that shows just how powerful someone really is, and he blurts out, "Should we try it on both of you?" Raoul hears the plan and his eyes light up like, this is gonna be wild. And yeah, he's pretty much already ready to jump in and give it a shot So they kick on the analysis magic, and that glowing appraisal light sweeps over the whole group, scanning their stats one by one. They hop out of the carriage in a border-near city, stride past the checkpoint, and smash through the rest of the journey on foot. Luna's glued to the map while you push into the woods, and 2 days of brutal hiking later, you finally reach her territory. As the sun starts to sink, they set up camp fast and Alma digs out food for everyone, just before things go sideways. Spotting a whole stash of camping gear from his past life chilling inside his item box, he figured this was his moment. Time to finally put it to use. It's an awesome setup. His magic keeps all their food and water tasting fresh the entire time. As she gazes at this comfy camp, Luna's mind slams back to the day she first left home, dragging a giant, brutal, heavy backpack that nearly crushed her. Raoul bursts into laughter and tells her she's lucky, because Alma is making this return trip a whole lot easier for her. Alma flashes a soft smile, savoring the way the forest stays deadly quiet, because not a single monster shows up to wreck the moment. A colossal white wolf lurks in the dark trees, staring them down from the shadows, still and deadly, like it's been waiting the whole time. And Alma snaps her gaze back and quietly mouths the name, Fenrir. Then it hits him. When a monster like that is lurking nearby, no wonder the others are too terrified to even show their faces. Raoul digs into the food and calls it amazing, and Luna nods hard. She's loving this change of pace, eating outside like it's the best idea ever. Alma can't stop thinking about how insanely smart and tough these Fenrir are, because they practically tear through the forest like it's nothing. Suddenly, a voice slams into his mind, telepathy, and it all. And Alma fires back, saying she's pretty sure he's never crossed paths with a Fenrir before. The wolf snaps back, "That's not the point. It only trotted in to figure out what kind of monster had slipped into the woods." Alma blurts out, "Are you talking about me?" and fires right back that it's brutal to label him a monster. The wolf locks eyes with him and fires back, asking if he even has a clue how much magic he's leaking into the air. Alma tells himself he's almost fearless with his magic levels, because in his past life, he trained non-stop like he was trying to beat the universe. And Fenrir roars that his massive power has the whole forest losing its mind. Because yeah, the monsters are terrified of him, and even the giant wolf himself is admitting he's feeling a little on edge, which it almost stops his heart, because he suddenly gets it. All those monsters weren't hunting him. They were terrified of the exact same thing. It turns out that legendary wolf wasn't real at all. It was him the whole damn time. Ever since that chaos at the bar, he's been wrestling to keep his magic from spilling out unless he's actively casting, because somehow animals just feel it better than people do. Alma realizes he's probably messed up a little, just from blasting his energy that loud, so he decides to fix it right now. He yanks out a concealment spell called Nimli's, a sneaky trick to vanish from sight. He just freezes for a heartbeat, shutting his thoughts down hard as he clamps that power tight and seals it away. Fenrir is completely wrecked, Alma's presence disappears so fast it's like he's chasing a cloud of mist with his eyes. Back at the camp, Luna realizes something seriously wrong. Alma's whole vibe just vanished, and now Luna can't stop wondering what's really happening. Raoul glances over and spots Luna acting totally off. Then a nearby voice blurts, "What's wrong with you?" Fenrir locks onto them with narrowed eyes, and the moment he senses they've finally clocked his presence, as the vibe flips, Raoul starts trembling hard, while Luna just freezes and stares straight ahead in stunned silence. Raoul can barely force the words out. He stammers that it's a Fenrir, the legendary S-class monster, standing right in the middle. Deep in the woods, he finally clicks with a sickening realization. That silence wasn't peaceful at all. It was a warning, and the forest had been bad news from the start. Raoul screams for everyone to back up, but he barely even flinches. "Relax," he tells Raoul, calm as ever, because that wolf isn't hostile. Even though it's his fault the other monsters backed off. Right then, a savage rustle rips through the trees. Something's totally wrong, and a startled voice can't help but wonder what's really going on. With the massive wolf looming beside the fire, Alma suddenly freezes. There's a strange, unfamiliar pressure rolling off Luna like nothing he's ever felt before. And as soon as the air starts to glow, Luna's smile vanishes and her eyes turn razor serious. Then swirling light coils around her like something about to snap. A colossal, glowing spirit materializes right behind Luna, like some divine guardian straight out of the heavens. Luna steadies herself and shouts for grace, her eyes blazing, begging fate to let her finally go. A giant spirit finally rips through behind her, and she blasts out a huge wave of white energy that floods the entire area. Fenrir the wolf is slammed with a sudden power move, and he doesn't even see it coming. He just gapes at Luna, both of them frozen in stunned disbelief at what she's done. Alma realizes he somehow ended up disarming the attack on reflex when a hard thud slams onto the ground. And Fenrir can't stop wondering if the girl's reaction was even worth it. Alma jolts her gaze up at the towering wolf and blurts, "I'm sorry," because Luna just got spooked, and that's all it was, and then he doubles down, saying he truly hopes the wolf digs deep enough to find it in herself to forgive her. Fenrir stays ice calm, then drops a real apology, straight up admitting he's the one who was rude for showing up in the middle of the night like that. Alma reassures Luna that the wolf isn't dangerous. If he wanted them gone, he could have wiped them out before they even clocked him, and Fenrir nods, agreeing without a doubt. That giant wolf locks onto her every move, but his mind keeps spinning on the weird magic she just pulled off, where it came from, and what it really means. Luna looks totally wiped after that last move, and Fenrir instantly clocks it. Her magic wavelength screams summon like it's right on the edge of happening. But right before they push ahead, the giant wolf stops everything and tells Alma, "You're a girl, not a guy." Alma's stomach drops, she stammers an apology, and while Raoul crouches behind a tree, jaw-dropping as he can't believe Alma is actually holding a real conversation with a legendary wolf. Alma casually drops, "We're just using telepathy," and it instantly crushes Raoul, because now he's raging at himself, realizing a kid's magic knowledge blows past what a sage like him can do. Raoul finally dredges up the courage to ask why Fenrir even bothered showing up at their camp in the first place. And the wolf finally spills the real truth. She says someone else is desperate to meet Alma. Turns out this guy is totally obsessed with having Alma around, like he'd do anything to keep her close, making Alma agreed to the meeting, but you could tell he was stunned. Fenrir was massive, and there was no way that kind of beast would travel all this way just to hand him an invite. Alma is left stunned, wondering what kind of unhinged high-level monster out there can boss a forest lord like her. But Fenrir just beams with gratitude and asks, "Are you ready to go see him? Right now?" Fenrir watches in shock as she drops a jaw-dropping reveal. Turns out the little creature beside her is her son. And the second Luna spots the little guy, she snaps, right into overdrive, while the pup just stands there, tail going full speed, paw waving like he's greeting her. Raoul's mind is totally blown. He's screaming that this monster is incredible, while the pup just sits there, looking ridiculously adorable, and Alma can't help herself. She leans in and tells the tiny wolf he doesn't look scary one bit. So that, which makes Raoul look totally wrecked with stress, while Luna keeps blasting out that the little guy is the cutest thing ever. He flips onto his back, belly exposed like a dare, mouths off at them, and makes sure everyone remembers. Yeah, he's a Fenrir too. He puts on a big shot act, booming with laughs and asking the crew if they're finally scared of him. But it fully backfires, because the entire group just freezes, staring at him like, seriously. He's way too cute to be a threat. Raoul finally cracks and starts petting him, smiling as he asks the little wolf if he's scratching the right spots. Raoul can't stop blushing as he raves about how fluffy that wolf is, and Luna just keeps the little pup pressed close, eyes locked on every inch of its fur. That tiny wolf pup soaks up every bit of attention, pawing for more scratches while Raoul clocks that he's in the best mood of his life. And Raoul can't hold it in. He blurts out that he wants a turn to pet the fluff too, but Alma just keeps moving on too. Alma wants to talk to Fenrir's mother, but the moment she hears him, her tone turns ice cold and she grills him, asking why someone like Fenrir is even here in this land. He almost blurts out an answer, then slams on the brakes, because it hits him. He hasn't even asked Luna for the full details yet, so he tells the giant wolf, "I've got business to take care of ahead. This territory's not my final stop," which makes Fenrir's instincts scream. He realizes the forest monsters could be out there, raiding the farm fields even as we speak. Alma's jaw drops when he hears that monsters are wrecking everything. And as he leans in to catch every word of the gossip, Senator Fenrir rips into the truth. This forest hasn't been feeding anyone lately, and the creatures are getting squeezed hard to smash human settlements just to scrape up enough food to stay alive, leaving all. He almost froze on the spot, staring around like he couldn't believe how brutally things had turned for everyone nearby. Alma gazes out at the land, and you can almost see her mind racing, because Thanatart used to be just a small place, and now she's trying to map out Luna's home territory. So imagine a little territory like that getting slammed by monster raids. Those people are in for a brutally rough time, fast. He realizes everyone's marching toward the kingdom, but these backwoods towns are bleeding people out and falling apart. So he can't shake the feeling that Luna's request for him is somehow tied to every single one of these messes. He almost blurted out a plan, thinking, why rush out and start killing monsters like a mindless brute? He can't just sit there. So he thanks Fenrir for the warning, and the giant wolf only hums back like it's no big deal. Fenrir demands to know what he's planning and offers up a deal. He'll tell the forest monsters to back off and leave that territory untouched, but Alma just grins and tells him it's fine, because this whole disaster, he's about to turn it into his weapon. The giant wolf locks eyes with him, growling the same word over and over, and basically dares him to admit what shady move he's about to pull. Alma says nothing at first, then she glances back at the wolf, calmly telling it to stop worrying. Alma flashes a small smile, says he just hopes his plan won't hurt a single soul, and then everything turns out better for everyone who's tangled in it. And after hearing that, Fenrir just shrugs and says he'll take his word for it, because in his eyes, Alma's got the clearest mind of any mortal he's ever laid eyes on. Almost sounds genuinely shocked and blurts out, "So you can read minds for real," to the giant wolf, but Fenrir just brushes it off like it's old news, and the kid just stands there, completely thrown. While as the wolf boasts that he's been alive for 1,000 years, he tells the truth. He's seen everyone under the sun, and he can read a man's character the moment he locks eyes. Alma snaps to attention, points it out like a bombshell. So for Lord Fenrir to exist, he has to truly, genuinely like humans, which is the wolf's own admission too. He's keeping his territory right near people, because that's probably the smartest way to stay out of trouble. Before they part ways, Fenrir leans in and tells Alma, "If you ever need anything, come hunt me down. I still owe you a massive favor." That tiny pup practically bursts with excitement and yells that he wants to go to the village too. But his dad slams that down instantly, and the second the two wolves vanish into the dark, The whole crew finally lets out a breath and settles in for the night. Alma replays Fenrir's words in his head, and he can't shake the feeling that the whole debt speech is way too intense for a guy who's just now stumbled on the kid. The morning sun finally breaks the horizon, and last night's campfire is already dead. Just cold, lifeless charcoal. So the crew snaps into motion and marches down the forest path, charging toward a distant gate. They finally push into Flanders territory. Just a quiet village of thatched roofs and muddy dirt roads, and everything about it feels off, like the calm before the storm and all. And then he nearly halts for a beat, swivels his head around, and realizes this quiet little spot is where Luna actually comes from. Luna wastes zero time. She snaps, "Follow me," and immediately strides ahead to pull them along. She sped past those tiny houses and skinny fences, and the rest of the guys matched her pace right on her heels. Alma kept spinning her head, taking in the plain tools and the rugged, backwoods setup of the village. Like she couldn't believe she'd end up here. Raoul lets out a small laugh and goes, "Man, it's wild. This place is way quieter than I ever thought, like super rural." Alma nods like, "Yeah, it's still for now." But his eyes start catching that strange vibe hanging in the air. As the sun slides behind the mountains, a golden light spills over the simple houses like a promise. Alma and Raoul stop dead in their tracks, soaking in every inch of the scenery like it was unreal, their faces lit with pure awe. Luna clocks them falling behind, whips back around, and demands to know what's wrong. Raoul's cheeks flare up and he blurts, "It's nothing," then insists that him and Alma were only talking about. Alma nods, practically sighing with relief. This whole village feels insanely peaceful and quiet. Luna smiles softly and tells him he's right, then adds that the folks here are awesome and this place feels amazing. So she orders them to keep pushing forward, and the guys get dragged deeper into the very heart of the village. Alma stares at her, and you can practically see the thought hit. Luna has to be head over heels for this hometown, for every person who lives here. He decides he's way more excited than he thought. Like, finally, he gets to meet the people of this territory and actually talk to them, and right then, they slam into this huge wooden building that towers over everything around it, and Raoul's jaw drops in total shock. Luna swings the group through the door and blurts that she's finally back home. The second she crosses the doorway, a younger girl comes barreling in and slams into her with a tackle. The hit slams into Luna so brutally it steals every breath from her, and she collapses into violent coughs. Their momentum yanks them both skidding across the room, slamming them into the wall as Alma just watches. The younger girl shoves her down and erupts, yelling welcome back. She scoots in close, eyes scanning her face, and asks, "Are you okay? Did you catch something?" Then she spills how terrified she was that Luna wouldn't make it back safe, because Luna has zero sense of direction. Luna mutters that she can at least find her own house, but her sister just shrugs and laughs it away. And when Luna snaps about her clothes getting wrecked during the tackle, the girl fires back with a straight-up answer. No excuses. Alma's already realizing he just met Luna's little sister, and the situation is getting real fast. Luna kicks things off with the introductions, tells Sanya that Alma's there to help them out, and then she jabs a finger at Raoul, slams him with the label extra. And only after that does she finally introduce Sanya to Alma. Alma smiles and greets him, saying she'll be around for a while. So he's hoping they can actually get along, but Sanya just drills him with a suspicious stare, and she manages to squeeze out a barely audible hello. Later, a thick-mustached man steps forward to greet them, grinning as he thanks the group for making the trip out to his remote land. He introduces himself, Eric, and then proudly declares that the woman beside him is his wife, Mabel. Turns out Eric isn't just here. He's actually Luna's real father, and the Lord ruling this whole territory, and both he and his wife are so incredibly kind that the whole group instantly feels right at home, welcomed like family. Everyone crowds around the table for a cozy meal, all while they chat and laugh together. Yeah, even though it's somewhere in this room, one person is still nursing a grudge, and it won't let go. Luna whirls to her little sister and blurts her name, begging for manners, but she just keeps pushing. saying Alma and Raoul trekked all the way from Talistella because she asked for it. While Raoul clearly hates being dragged into the story like he's nothing more than an afterthought. Luna snaps that her attitude toward their guests isn't okay, and Sanya gulps, looks away, and pouts like she's been caught. Then Sanya murmurs the city's name again and again, and right as she says it the last time, it finally clicks, like a light bulb snapping on in her brain. She asks whether Luna was really meant to hunt down a powerhouse fighter in the Labyrinth City, Labstella. Then her question cuts off mid-sentence. Luna's jaw drops in pure shock as Sanya snaps that Talistella is nothing more than a commercial town, telling her sister she should have done her homework before taking off. As the lecture rages on, Sanya snaps that this is the exact reason Luna can't go alone. While Luna panics, drenches in sweat and desperately tries to laugh it off like everyone messes up. Luna's getting slammed with the scolding, and it's just pushing her over the edge fast. And honestly, it makes Sanya look like the big sister here, because she just keeps hammering into her. After Sanya blasts out her rant, she huffs, spins away, and leaves Alma stuck in this brutally awkward silence. Sanya is clearly on edge, and she won't trust these newcomers an inch, because there's a big reason coming right after this. There's absolutely a huge reason she's been snapping at everyone and keeping everyone at arm's length. One of the local farmers looks absolutely crushed as he spills that monsters have been tearing up his fields nonstop lately. So they stuffed the battlefield with scarecrows to save themselves from the damage. But it was all for nothing, because those scarecrows didn't help at all. By the next day after he arrives in Flanders, things still don't look any better, almost. Alma hooks up with Eric and heads out to meet the locals. No guessing now. She's there to finally hear what's been happening in the village. These stories feel identical. Only now the monsters are showing up way more often, hitting harder, and acting way faster than they ever did. Eric leans in, listening as they tell him the news. Some farm nearby got hit the other day. To make it worse, the ground here is total wasteland, empty, lifeless, and brutal, which, even with nobody dead yet, the missing crops and empty wallets are locking everyone in poverty, with no way out. Eric looks completely wrecked as he grudgingly admits that, even though he's lord here, he's got no fight in him. He can't even lift a finger to help the crops and it drives him up the wall, watching his people suffer while he's completely powerless. As she watches him, Alma can feel how hard that guy cares, and it hits her with the realization that, behind that gentle face, Eric's got this massive, blazing passion for everyone living in his domain. It clicks for Alma. Luna had to grow up seeing her dad carry this same kind of feeling. But then, boom, Eric snaps back to reality, throws out an apology, and admits the pressure just crushed him for a second. He tells Alma he's honestly thrilled he went all the way from the other region, and he begs her to take her time settling in. So Alma just stares at Eric's reaction, while Luna erupts into giggles at the sudden shift in her dad's mood. Eric tries to put everything back on track, promising that soon he'll start making his moves. Then they push deeper into the woods, still yakking about what the village's future would look like. The girl stands among the trees, staring deep into the forest like it's hiding something meant just for her. Alma can't stop thinking about Sanya, wondering how a kid like her could possibly be out here running errands deep in the woods. He whips around to Eric and points out that the monsters around here have been getting disturbingly active lately. Eric confirms it. Right now the poison lizards are the real threat, because they're packed with food, settling in and gearing up to spawn. In the forest's deep hush, Sanya clenches her fist and tells herself over and over that getting anywhere near that nest is a hard no. But then she catches something through the trees, and it hits her like lightning. She finally found what she'd been searching for. Right beside that massive hollow tree, a swarm of poison lizards are slithering and crawling around like they own the place. Sanya crouched low in the bushes, staying upwind so those monsters couldn't sniff out her scent. She digs out some sleeping pollen, flicks it into the air, and watches the dust cloud drift straight toward the nest. It works perfectly, so she slips past the sleeping lizards, forcing herself to keep every move slow and quiet. Sanya peeks over the rocks, totally convinced everything is playing out just like she planned. But then panic hits. She starts fretting about hauling it all back by herself, and she can't stop wishing her sister was there. Suddenly, a poison lizard rockets out with a savage hiss, and it totally catches her off guard. Sanya panics, staring at it like, "Why are you awake?" when her sleeping pollen should have knocked it out for hours. The lizard doesn't even hesitate. It hurls a glob of nasty poison right at her. It screams past at the last second, slams into a nearby tree, and melts the wood clean off the trunk. The monster blinks in disbelief that its shot missed, then spots Alma calmly perched in the branches. Alma drops down hard and asks Sanya if she's okay, but Sanya just freezes, staring at him in pure, stunned disbelief. He explains that the lizard was probably already curled up asleep, so its breathing slowed down, and that let it just tune out the pollen. Alma flashes her a smile, blurts that she's just happy he followed her, and asks if she'll tell him the whole story. Sanya just freezes for a second, staring off like her head's packed with a million thoughts. Right as she finally gets her voice back, she turns to Alma and thanks her for stepping in and rescuing her. Alma blurts, "Why would I risk getting anywhere near that nest again?" and questions if he thinks she's after the eggs. Then she fires back that he's completely wrong. She tells you the truth. She wasn't just wandering around. She was charging straight back for the crops the monsters ripped from their village, which totally blindsides Alma, because he never once imagined lizards would go after plants. He reels back to when the Lord first brought up the monster raids, and he can't help noticing how the guy acted like it wasn't even a big deal. Alma pushes an idea to hunt wild beasts for food and make life easier, but Sanya snaps back with fierce intensity, saying that's not good enough. She stares him dead in the eyes and warns him that if things don't change soon, the pressure is going to crush her, and her father is about to get stripped of everything, every single bit of his power as Lord. Once Sanya finally lets it all out, her energy crashes to zero, and she tumbles into a deep, dreamless sleep. Eric stands in his office with his back to Alma, feeling it hit him. Sanya already spilled everything about their situation too. He spins around and meets his eyes, then admits it won't be long before they strip him of his Lord title. Alma just locks eyes with him, thinking, so that girl only gave me a sliver of what's really happening. So Eric barrels on, throwing it straight at the whole group, saying their territory hasn't paid a single tribute to the crown in years. He tells us they were meant to ship crops to the capital every single year, until cruel bad harvests and relentless monster attacks wiped it all out. As he storms out of the capital, the higher-ups mutter in the shadows that he just can't handle the job anymore. He glances down and blurts out that an investigator is arriving in just 3 days, and he's been scrambling like crazy, praying the harvest is ready by then. But lately, the monster problem keeps exploding. Those creatures smash everything they try to grow before the harvest even has a chance. Then it finally hits Alma. He gets it all, and suddenly he understands why Sanya was throwing caution to the wind, fighting those monsters on her own. Alma shot her hand up and told Eric, "I think I've got a temporary fix for this problem." Alma jumps in, nervously asking if they can just buy crops from other towns so they can still make the deliveries. But Eric's wife, Mabel, jumps in and lays it all out. Yeah, they'd already been thinking about that. She swings open the storage and tells them they'll need 5,000 gallons of crops. But if they emptied the entire territory, they'd still scrape together only 1,500. And on top of that, it all has to be grade B or better. Plus they're flat out broke, so they can't just go buy that much from anywhere else. Eric slumps like he's been punched, saying there are only 3 days left and he's got 0 options. No way out, and he knows he might get exiled or hit with charges for hurting the country's interests. Yet Sanya suddenly screams that her father did nothing wrong. Eric just stares, and Sanya looks done with it, straight up fed up. She flips on Alma's group and snaps that they've already spotted tons of people arriving like they're here to help. She tells her the truth. Most advisors just flex, scam her dad with smiles, then snatch the money and vanish into thin air, leaving them stranded on lifeless land that monsters keep tearing apart anyway. Sanya keeps screaming that none of this is her father's fault. She's convinced there are just too many evil people in the world. She buckles to the ground, hands clamped to her head, and can't stop asking herself why her dad is the one getting crushed by all of this. Eric bellows her name from above, towering over her as he watches his daughter sobbing on the floor while he gently pats her head, tells her he's proud she got angry for him, then reminds her that a true leader has to trust people and own it when everything hits the fan. Luna just stares at them, pain to the core, and you can practically feel the whole weight of the situation crushing her as her eyes dart from her father to her sister. Almost lingers by the door, soaking it all in, and wishing he'd gotten here sooner, so he could have stepped in and helped. He finally clocks what it'll take, 500 gallons of crops to fix this. And that number slams into him so hard he can't even breathe, especially because he knows his item box has nowhere near enough food stashed inside. Alma stares at the family huddled in pure despair, and it hits him. He's done feeling helpless, and he's determined to find a way to bring their smiles back. Eric stared up at him, admitting he had zero right to beg for help when he couldn't even offer a reward, because whatever hope was left, it was slipping fast. Eric's head drops, looking absolutely shattered, and he tells Alma to take care of everyone here once he's gone. Then he urges her to pass on his wisdom to whoever becomes the next lord. And he straight up admits the place is falling apart, then blames it all on himself, on the fool he was as a leader, because the people here shouldn't pay the price for his mistakes. Alma just locks eyes with him, stunned that even after Eric has lost everything, all he can think about is keeping his people safe. Alma snaps her gaze to Eric and tells him he's got this. Eric's eyes flare with shock, and he can barely process it as he blurts out, "Wait, are you serious?" He just lets out this huge sigh of relief like, finally, I can breathe easy. Because even after they force him out, he knows the territory will be fine, right up until. But it slams the pause button on him. She snaps that there won't be any after because she's not letting Eric get anywhere. Yeah, it's selfish, she admits, but the choice is made. She's stepping in. Right then, he yanks open his item box, and suddenly a whole avalanche of stuff tumbles out of thin air, slamming onto the ground with a brutal thud. And Eric just sprawls on the floor, frozen in shock, staring up at Alma like, "Wait, what is happening?" Totally lost. Alma flashed him a calm smile and promised that in just 3 days, everything would be sorted, so Eric could finally fix this mess. He's dead set on keeping this guy in power as the Lord, and he knows exactly how to do it. Get 3,500 gallons of crops ready to save the day. Alma scans the pile of goods and says the quality looks solid, but Eric just freezes on the spot, stunned by what he's seeing, mouth hanging open, words nowhere to be found. Raoul can't contain his excitement. He grabs Alma by the shoulders, yells her name at the top of his lungs, and leaves her scrambling just to process what hit her. Luna stares as the chaos unfolds, worry tight in her eyes, whispering Alma's name under her breath, while Sanya stands shoulder to shoulder beside her, both of them feeling the situation's weight crushing down. The clock's ticking hard. This kingdom has only 3 days to send investigators, so they're racing against the clock with zero breathing room. Alma stares down at the dry, ruined earth cradled in his hands, then snaps that everyone needs to start getting ready, right this second. In that remembered meeting, Eric looks totally broken as he grabs Julius's attention and demands to know if he really wants them all to die. He keeps begging, throwing it back in his face, everything they've built and sacrificed for this country over the years. Eric calls the whole thing outrageous, begs him to think about the territory, and most of all, the people trapped there with nowhere else to go. But Julius doesn't flinch. He stays stone calm and tells you straight up, if you treat a country like a living body, you've got to slice out the infected parts to save what's still alive. He makes it crystal clear. If they don't bite the bullet and cut out the struggling areas, the whole country is toast. Eric realizes they've slammed into a dead end, snaps that there's no point talking anymore, and so he throws a signal. Every one of his men snaps their blades out, and magic flares erupt as they brace to crash into the fight. One of the knights leans in, grilling Eric like, "You really mean this, knowing who we're facing?" while Eric only has one thing on his mind, figuring out their next move. He drops the formality and screams at Julius to get ready, barking, "So you're the great sage." While he gets ready too, he gets absolutely crushed by panic as towering ice spikes blast out and trap everyone in frozen silence. Instantly, it's a loud, crystal-clear reminder to everyone. Julius is officially the strongest wizard across the whole kingdom. And after that, when the dust finally clears, Edward grabs Eric and spits that he's a sinner for hiding taxes. Then he orders the guards to slam his head on a spike at the front gate. As they stride away from the wreckage, Julius Cumlai turns to Edward and demands, "What's next on our list?" And Edward snaps into a serious expression, insisting he needs to hash out some personnel issues tied to the Flanders territory. The two of them sprint deeper into the palace, leaving the chaos behind as they go. The sun blazes over the massive palace walls as Julius strides through the quiet garden paths, wearing that too many thoughts look on his face as he swivels toward Edward. He demands an update on how the Flanders front is holding up. Edward admits the harvest is almost ready to ship, but that remote location is a nightmare. Getting everything organized on time is a massive headache, but Julius doesn't even flinch. He just nods like he owns the moment, saying everything is running exactly how he planned. Edward snaps out that even from so far away, Flanders is a strategic choke point between the Western empires, so they can't let it slip, because if things turn ugly, they'll need it locked down. And then he makes it brutally clear. If that local lord tries to stop them, just kill him. No hesitation, no regrets. He shuts his eyes and tells his subordinate, "I'm putting you in charge. Handle the rest of this mess your way." Cut to the border of the territory. Cedric finally shows up, scans the trees like he's hunting answers, and realizes he's officially in Flanders. As the royal court's appraiser, Cedric tweaks his monocle, then blurts out whether he's about to get stuck in yet another dull backwater province, until a local guy steps in and bows so deep. He thanks him for going all that way just to see them. While they're trekking through the woods, someone says the local lord is ready to welcome them with open arms. Then Eric flashes a gesture and tells everyone to follow as he pushes ahead between the trees, guiding the way while Edward narrows his eyes thinking, "This guy's got nerves. He can afford to be this generous right now." He still remembers the reports. These guys weren't even close to quota, and they were probably stuffing scraps to bluff the numbers, until Eric slams the brakes and tells them, "We're here." Eric points at the giant crates and shouts that there are exactly 5,000 kilograms of crops inside, just like they asked for. So this isn't the junk Edward was sure was coming. Edward's drenched in sweat, asking what the hell is going on, but Eric just stares him down and drops the truth. There's one huge problem with the harvest. He scratches his head, admits it was supposed to be grade B, but almost all of it came out grade A, and that's exactly why Edward can't even understand how that's bad. Edward just freezes in stunned disbelief, mumbling that this has to be a lie, while Cedric desperately tries to get his attention. Cedric snatches a potato, holds it up to the light, and confirms. Eric really wasn't lying about the quality. He just stares in disbelief, mumbling that it's straight up insane to watch so many ranks of crops packed into one place like this. He stares at the dazzling produce, admits he's been the kingdom's appraiser for years, and still can't believe what's going down in Flanders. Edward is losing it, screaming that there's no way Flanders couldn't possibly have the cash or the tech for crops like this. Then he starts firing off questions, demanding to know how they pulled it off when Cedric cuts in, begging to learn the secret behind his future studies. So Eric snaps and tells him to shut up and let the expert lay it all out. Almost just stands there, confidence blazing in his eyes like he's got everything locked in, while he greets Edward for the first time with a polished, polite smile, going out of his way to be as nice as possible before he starts to introduce himself as Alma Fellows, then stops cold, catches himself, and he fixes it and snaps, sweat-soaked and on the edge, Edward. Because right now, he's not Edward at all, he's Alma. Edward locks onto the name Fellows tied to the Eastern Empire's noble line, And right as someone says Alma is serving as an advisor for that territory, everything clicks. Alma waves the group forward, grinning as he teases that Edward looks way too intense for some boring farm checkup. Then he leads them down the road. Still, Edward admits the fields look insanely rich. But Cedric can't wrap his head around how they've got a massive surplus left after everything they already handed to the kingdom. Alma just stares them down and nonchalantly drops the bomb that those crops they're staring at right now were planted earlier that very morning. Edward and Cedric totally snap as Edward yells back, demanding they double-check whether Alma really meant everything was planted just this morning. And Cedric is just as rattled, screaming that there's no way plants can shoot from seeds to full size in a single day. Turns out the real secret is this special liquid, spilled and spread across every single field in the whole territory. And the inspectors spot it instantly. Because this legendary harvest god fertilizer is the real deal, the wild item that makes crops explode into growth at an insane speed. Cedric lunges into Alma's space, panicking as he begs to know how he could even get his hands on something that legendary and priceless. Alma just stares, totally baffled, and asks if this stuff is really that big of a deal, while Cedric frowns and tells him he's only ever seen it mentioned in dusty old books. Cedric keeps the lesson rolling, pointing out that this fertilizer doesn't just make things grow fast, it locks the soil in peak condition for the next 100 years. While the local farmers just stared, mouths gaping, trying to even say it out loud, because the idea of the land lasting that long felt unreal. Raoul locks eyes with Alma, bursts out laughing, and says it looks like the kid's got a natural gift for farming too. Like his magic isn't even trying, it just comes with talent. But Alma just shrugs it off, insisting he's got no special talent. He only carries a rare item in his bag, that's all. One visitor has been itching with curiosity for ages, so they finally corner Alma and ask what those things are and all. And Alma just nods along as the guy gestures, and shows her the weird stones jutting up all across the field. Alma blurts that it's really a crystal packed with magical essence, and the visitors left so confused they can't even process it, while Alma just keeps going. Alma throws out a joke about how the scholar probably already knows, then dives straight into how soil nutrients are everything. So I'm telling them this, out in the dirt, the single most powerful thing isn't just soil, it's the Earth's magical essence. He breaks it down. This magic essence is basically a microscopic particle hiding in absolutely everything. And since it's hanging in the air and soaking into the ground, the crops drink it up and blow up with way better growth. By tossing crystals into the fields, he nearly forces the crops to hit top quality, right before it all spirals, leaving. Cedric went completely speechless, because his brain just couldn't wrap around how something like that was even possible. The scholar's body trembles as the kid's words hit him, because what they just said is truly groundbreaking. Cedric is literally trembling and he can't wrap his head around it. How did he not think of a plan like this sooner? And he keeps murmuring those magical words under his breath, like he's cracking a code only he can hear. He starts laying it out. Most magic essence just drifts in the air or sinks into the dirt. It doesn't magically crystallize on its own, but back in the days when adventurers ruled, these crystals only showed up in the deadliest depths, treacherous dungeon zones so brutal they were priced through the roof, meaning nobody could ever dream of using them for something as simple as farming. He locks eyes with Alma and demands to know how a kid like him even got his hands on something that rare. Like seriously, how? That freaks Alma out completely. There's no way he can admit it's a dungeon trophy from his past life. So he panics, makes up a story, and claims he grabbed it from some guy he knows. Cedric bet whoever handed it to him had no clue what a gold mine it really was, because that gift was worth way more than they ever imagined. Even with everything else weighing on him, he still had one massive question burning in his mind for the kid. He says the crops finally explain everything, but the numbers still don't make sense. There's no way this tiny village can plant and harvest all that this fast. So he fires off a question. Did you hire a bunch of outside help to get this job done? but Alma shuts him down with a simple, solid no. Alma tells Cedric the kingdom's reps are sharp as knives, then admits he had his own help secretly hide, so he wouldn't spook their guest. And it just leaves Cedric standing there, totally baffled, staring like, what is this kid even talking about? Out of nowhere, a brutal pack of wild boars and wolves crashes into the fields. Cedric totally loses it, panicking out of his mind because real monsters are standing right in front of him. He stays almost perfectly calm and drops the truth. These are the same monsters that once tore through the village. Now they're chained up and working the fields in exchange for food. He flaunts a gigantic stone slab dubbed the relief of the demon lord, and claims it can mesmerize any monster that dares to lock eyes with it. Cedric stares as a gigantic boar hauls a heavy supply cart, still not fully buying the idea that one single stone can really protect people from getting eaten. But Alma says it plain. These low-level monsters can't possibly stand up to the stone's magic, unlike that Fenrir-class beast. To prove it, Alma puts on a wild show. One board rockets through a flaming hoop like a circus act, then grins at Cedric and tells him they can pretty much do whatever they want. Cedric's face drops like he just saw a ghost, insisting Alma can't possibly be real, because that stone is a legendary treasure of the demon race. Edward sweats through his skin, eyes wide with panic, and he can't stop thinking how the demon race would never let a legendary item like that slip away, because their pride won't allow it, and that thought crushes him. He spiraled even harder, staring at how in the middle of nowhere, of all places, this thing even existed, and he couldn't fathom how a kid as young as Alma got her hands on it. So Alma flashes a casual smile and tells them, "Yeah, I get why you're shocked." Then he leans in and says, "But you can chill. Those monsters do exactly what they're told." Suddenly, Cedric starts blubbering into his handkerchief and blurts that it's all just incredible, leaving Alma frozen, totally baffled by his wild reaction. Cedric blurts out that he never thought anyone could really turn monsters into a full-on workforce like this, and he's convinced it's the perfect lifesaver for a little territory that's running out of people. Cedric keeps crying and dabbing at his eyes, and Alma just stands there stunned, wondering if every appraiser is this soft with their craft. Moving on, Cedric swings around to his companion and quizzes Edward. Doesn't he find the whole situation wildly impressive as it's unfolding? Edward finally forced himself to admit it. Flanders has been flipped upside down. Just days ago it was dull and plain, and now it's completely something else. While Alma stared up at him, Edward muttered that he had to get a report out on this ASAP. Later, Luna slumps hard, saying folks are starting to doubt whether her father is even still fit to be a lord. Then someone snaps right back, "No, that's not true at all." Cedric flashed a confident grin and told them, "Since I'm the court appraiser, I'm pushing the council to make this village the model, so everyone else learns how it's really done. So if this plan even slightly holds, the kingdom could finally come in with real muscle." Luna and Eric can barely process what they're hearing, as Raoul starts cheering and tells Alma he actually pulled it off. Alma gets totally flustered by all the praise, especially when Raoul brings up just how much Eric helped to make it happen. Meanwhile, Eric can barely even process it. He just stands there, stunned out of his mind, watching how wildly things have flipped for the better. It's almost more change than his brain can handle. And then he just crumples into tears, blurting that he'd fully written off any future with them, until only a few days ago. And yeah, he looks completely shattered like he's about. So Raoul flashes Alma a massive grin and fires off a deep thank you for everything he's done for the territory. And Alma just stands there staring, awkward as all hell under that spotlight, while things are about. Luna watches them from the side, and she can't help but think, Alma is honestly incredible. She never imagined they'd flip the whole mess around in just 3 days. But Sanya jumps in and insists, Alma's just different, and when Luna snaps her eyes over, she's thrown off for a split second. So Sanya leans in with a soft smile and tells him straight out, Alma isn't like anyone who's ever walked in here before. Luna drops her gaze and flushes, softly nodding along with her sister, as the full weight of everything Alma has done finally crashes down on her. He stands outside, stares up at the sky, and can't shake this strange new feeling that makes his head spin. Everything was lining up perfectly. So why did this weird feeling keep screaming at him that something was about to go wrong? That nagging dread won't let go, twisting his stomach in knots, and it makes his chest feel restless as he can't stop worrying that he messed something up. Meanwhile, inside the carriage, someone gushes about how incredible the Flanders territory turned out to be. So Cedric jumps in like, I can't believe this place is already this developed. Before we even set foot here, Edward holds a stone-cold straight face, nods as if it's undeniable truth, and then a whole week slips by as Edward and Cedric finally head home. Ever since the monsters started lending a hand with construction and road work, the whole territory has been flipped upside down. One of the local villagers spots a wolf monster tearing through town and greets it like they've been old friends for years. The lady asks, "Are you done working?" and hands them food, like she's celebrating the moment everyone finally stopped trembling. Those residents who used to fear them now sit like they belong. Alma flexes his item box magic in the middle of the fields, and right in front of a local farmer, a black cube lifts into the air, leaving the poor guy staring like he just saw the impossible. The farmer stares in disbelief and blurts, "Can you just keep making that stuff forever?" But Alma lets out a sharp sigh and shakes her head, saying the space inside isn't fixed. It swells or shrinks depending on how much magic power you've got. Watching it all, Luna's sister shoots her a furious glare and grumbles that it's just not fair. She starts grumbling about how she's been hauling heavy water all her life, until her body aches from it, all sore and spent. It drives her crazy that Alma just tosses around high-level magic like it's nothing. Magic she can't even touch herself. Luna doesn't go easy on her. She snaps that it's not Alma's fault, then says her sister's just physically weak since she's always stuck hiding in her room. Luna keeps pushing, saying her sister didn't grow up with anything except magic, and even then she's awful at directions. Yet her sister fires back that she studied magic non-stop. Eric clocks the awkward tension rising and blurts that they should just cut it there, before it gets any worse. So Alma just stood there, eyes wide as Eric admitted it. No matter how hard you tried, magic like that really feels like a cheat code. Alma whirls to Luna and asks if she wants to try learning the magic herself, and it totally slams her sister off guard as she chants item box out loud again. Her face lights up like she's finally zeroed in on a mission worth chasing. The two of them stride inside Luna's room. Basically, a giant private library packed to the ceiling with books. Alma whirled around the room, stunned, and blurted that, wait, this is actually her room. And he spots high-level grimoires littering the floor like they've been tossed aside. Luna's sister starts squirming in place, scrambling for words to explain what's going on, while Alma just sits there and watches. She dives straight into the technical details and reveals the item box skill has two non-negotiable rules. The first is you need a magic power stat of at least 1,000. Then she raises 2 fingers and declares the second requirement, mastery of spatial teleportation magic. But when she checks her own power and sees it's only 600, she realizes she's still missing 400 points. Suddenly she decides she's going to stalk monsters in the forest to power up, so Alma has to snatch her and demand she slows down. Alma shoots a grin, looks up and says, "Since we're already here, we might as well pull out a secret weapon," leading to. Luna's sister snapped her head toward him, utterly baffled, and demanded, "What do you mean by a secret weapon?" He yanks out a glowing fruit and she gasps, instantly recognizing it. Wait, is that really a golden apple? A fast breakdown makes it clear. This is a rare fruit from a sacred tree that supercharges your mana, and Alma's like, "I ate it, and now I've got plus 500 to my total." She gapes at the glowing thing like it might bite, then asks him, "Do I really have to eat this?" So Alma goes, "Does this golden food just look wrong to you?" And she offers to hunt down another way if it feels too weird. She just smiles, tells him she's not about to start doubting him now, then snatches the fruit and holds it in her hands, and she takes one massive bite and freezes in total shock, then blurts out, "Wait, This is actually delicious. She goes on a full rant about how it's perfectly sweet and insanely refreshing, with that sour bite balancing everything like it was made for her. Alma fesses up that he's tried it before, and it blew his mind. So even with the boost maxing out at 2500, he can't stop craving more. Sanya feels a cozy heat rush through her entire body, like raw energy is blasting awake inside her. And she realizes her magic is surging higher in that very moment. She locks eyes with Alma like a spark, then asks, "Can I have just one more?" But Alma tells her, "You'll get one more later," and that promise keeps her locked on the task since. Sanya flat out says they've got everything, except one missing piece, a teleport spell, just like the one Alma pulled off back then. She spotted it in grimoires too, listed as *** instant movement magic ***, though those books always claim spatial magic is insanely rare, like, almost impossible to pull off. Alma can't stop thinking about it. Those magic books don't all hit the same level, and what you find can totally make or break the quality. And turns out, just tracking down the right book with the right info is half the fight. So that's why. Because if you want to master spatial magic, you'd better know every inch of the space around you like it's tattooed on your soul. Alma breaks down the basics, staring at the idea of teleportation, because it doesn't move you at all. It swaps the magical essence of your destination with the spot you're standing on. That's why Sanya says sticking to a familiar spot makes everything way easier, and Alma immediately nods like, "Yeah, exactly." Sanya tells him the secret is this: during the swap, you only need to push the distance between them to 2 for a split second, even if it feels impossible, because to actually pull it off, you've got to be able to **see yourself landing exactly on those coordinates. Only then does the spell truly click. She admits it's a crazy amount to process, but she's still ready to swing for the fences, and Alma cheers her on. Because she's still learning, Sanya grabs Alma and asks, "Can you show me what it's supposed to look like?" But Alma decides to go small. She picks a short hop across the room as their first target, and they launch their very first try. Sanya keeps prodding him to stay on his feet, again and again, until he finally can't quit and the move has to work until Luna suddenly bursts in, shouting that the tea is finally ready, and basically orders everyone to take a much-needed break. While Sanya slumps there, utterly drained, Alma zips back and forth across the room like gravity doesn't even exist. Sanya just stands there looking hopelessly confused as Alma scrambles to find words for this absolute insanity. Like, somehow he's in. He shrugs like, "It is what it is," and they both sink back for a beat, cradling steaming hot tea like it's a moment of peace. Sanya looks completely wiped out after practice, and Alma tells her to slow down. She doesn't have to get it perfect on the first try because even though Luna naturally clicks with magic, she's still taking it slow, because learning how to move energy takes careful steps, not rushing. He remembers his training from his past life. Man, it took him an entire month just to finally click, so he tells her to just chill, and she glances down like, "Yeah, I get what you mean." But Sanya refuses to quit. She digs deep and throws everything she has into one last try as Alma watches, right there at the side. She tumbles over, but when she lifts her head, her face is pure disbelief. Did she really just pull that move off? Alma's eyes pop wide. Yet he's the one who taught her to do it in the first place, like some kind of cruel example. He can't believe she learned to teleport that fast for real. Sanya braces herself, gulping breaths, and this intense magic pressure rolls off her, like the air is about to snap as she taps into her sage gift, and Alma just knows. Luna is about to be a natural at this. But Sanya jerks her gaze up, asks if she just nailed that item box move, then almost grins and tells her, if she keeps practicing, she'll be a pro in no time. So, she takes a sip of her tea, then gives a calm little nod, like everything's right exactly the way she wants it. Look, when Alma locks eyes with her, she realizes the truth. She doesn't love magic for a mission or a reason, she just loves it, purely and wildly, for what it is. He starts marveling at how Luna is lighting fast for her age, maybe the best student he's ever had. Then Sanya snaps at him that she doesn't want to hear praise from a genius like him. She leans in and tells him the truth. She'd been going hard on studying Magic Way before anyone ever handed her that official gift. Turns out her great-grandfather was a legendary mage in the kingdom, so their house was always bursting with magical books. She's been chasing new spells since she was a little kid, and it's basically consumed her, almost. Alma grins as they wrap up their break, because her passion hasn't faded for a single second. Eric blurts out their history to Alma, and how their family once lived right in the royal capital, until it all. But turns out his father had hit the breaking point, fed up with non-stop drama and nobles tearing each other apart. So to keep everyone alive, they packed up and fled to this territory their ancestors once called home. And yeah, those noble feuds weren't just messy, they were a full-on nightmare to survive. Alma just stares, finally getting it. Luna and her family didn't stumble here by luck. They've clawed through mountains of struggle. Eric goes, "These people here are incredible." And right from the moment they arrived, the locals hit them with open arms and warm welcomes. He tells them how they'd sit and soak up his father's stories. And even the locals banded together to raise them a real house, because they couldn't stand the idea that a lord should be stuck living in some crummy dump. Sanya tilts her chin up, face set in stone, and says that's the exact reason she's fighting so hard to repay everyone in the territory. Alma just stares at her as she pauses for a heartbeat. Then she flashes him a warm, heartfelt smile and straight up thanks him for everything he's been doing for them lately. She knows that once she masters the item box magic he's teaching her, they're going to help people in ways they never even dreamed of. Alma can't stop thinking about how Luna always labels him unfair. But then Sanya's warm smile hits him, and suddenly it feels like it's Sanya who's being unfair to him. He scans the village, and his mind locks in. Once he's done teaching Luna the right magic, this territory is going to skyrocket into greatness. She's so sure she can slam through anything life throws at her that she won't even need him to step in. A lonely thought creeps in. Maybe this land would be better off without him. Just as a sudden, sharp noise rips through the air and snaps his attention. Sanya starts, "What's wrong?" And Alma blurts that things outside are getting way too loud right as he. And just when he blurts out, "What's happening?" Luna rockets over, eyes wide with pure terror, scrambling to explain everything. Outside, shouts rip through the air. Someone's yelling for Eric, the Lord of Flanders, begging him to come along quietly. Eric stood there, frozen in total disbelief, blurting, "Why is this even happening?" As a squad of knights closed in on him from all sides. The knight snaps that he's been using monsters for his own profit, and Alma, and the whole family, stands there stunned, frozen as the soldiers surged toward Eric, screaming that he'd betrayed the kingdom, and they shoved him toward the royal capital for an immediate trial. It's been 3 days since the knights dragged Eric to the capital, and now everyone's stuck in that gut-wrenching, helpless kind of. Instead of sitting around and overthinking, Alma stays on his feet, feeding the village animals so he doesn't have to think about everything that's haunting him. Luna forces a bright smile, tells herself and everyone else that it's all going to be okay even with dread souring the air in the village. She still shouts to Alma, demanding his attention, and he reminds her dad said he was only headed there to clear everything up, then tells her if he's truly innocent, he has to stay calm and plant his feet, and she nods like, "Yeah, that's the only way." Clenching her jaw, she swore they'd guard the territory with their own lives until her father finally came back. Later on, Alma and Luna are kicking back with Rayo, and then Raoul spots someone and blurts that he's finally back on his feet. Luna screams his name, but Alma locks onto the man's arm, demanding to know what did this horrible. And there's a villager slumped in place, completely worn out, with his arm wrapped tight in thick bandages. The other neighbors swarm in, staring at him like something's about to snap, and they demand to know what happened, because everyone can feel this is about to get way worse. The injured guy is trembling as he blurts that the kingdom's army ambushed them out in the forest, and he's dead sure those soldiers are gearing up to seize the entire territory the moment Eric's out of the way. Raoul brushes it off, tells Alma she's probably just spiraling, but Alma's not convinced. His mind won't shut off, stuck on one terrifying question: why the army would show up right now. He leans in on the man's arm, and the wound screams claw, not sword. Then he spots that strange powder smeared across his clothes. He starts sobbing on the spot, begging for help, screaming that his wife and kid are still trapped out there in the woods. Alma wastes zero time, turns to the man and tells him, "I've got this." He tells everyone they're heading into the forest to investigate, then whips his attention to Sanya and orders her to keep a close watch on that man while they're out. As they march in, Alma snaps to the truth. This whole army might have been nothing but an illusion. Raoul is totally lost. Then Alma tells him the truth: a monster that blasts toxic powder into the air, making people see their worst fears come alive. Alma realizes the people here are spiraling out of control because they're staring at fake versions of the kingdom's army, and he can't stop it. He can't stop asking himself why anyone would dare drag their family into a place this dangerous. Raoul snaps his head up and shouts, because right in front of them, two people are sealed tight in thick white webbing, dangling there. They've been snagged by a predator. Alma snaps that they're completely out of commission as the group scrambles, hunting for their next move. Right then, a whole squad of armored soldiers with blazing, glowing eyes materializes out of nowhere and seals them in from all sides, raw and exposed. Raoul's panic spikes. He grabs Alma and blurts, "Are you sure they're not real?" He's trembling so hard he can barely get words out, completely panicking, especially when the math starts. A massive Fenrir wolf lunges into view right in front of them. Raoul blurts out its name, but she keeps her cool, saying it's just another fake image, built from whatever they fear most. Raoul blurts out that maybe the wolf and those soldiers are all just fake, but he snaps himself back and shuts it down fast. No, because turns out the real monsters weren't outside at all. They were lurking in the illusions, and they struck the moment their targets got fooled by the fake ones. Raoul starts to shake with nerves and blurts out, "Do we really have to fight that whole army?" But Alma stays ice calm and tells him, "It looks like it." He's standing right there, stone-faced in a high-collared coat, looking like a straight-up professional. Alma finally realizes the forest isn't just creepy, it's hauling fears to the surface. And when he spots this guy, he straight-up admits he's the very last person he ever wanted to see. Raoul rips his sword out in an instant, screams that trouble's charging toward them, and the air goes tense. The giant Fenrir wolf rockets through the air, claws bared, and Raoul braces himself like he's about to get smashed head-on. Alma just stands there, staring as the wolf charges at that towering monster, and not a single flinch hits him because he knows those illusions can look perfect, but they'll never be able to steal the real person's power. He yanks out a glowing magic orb, thinking that if a monster can cloak its true form, this light will still give it away. His search magic still hunts them down, so he snaps on his search sense, throws a massive grid across the trees, and just like that, whispers of "found you" fill the air as the hunt cuts off mid-spell, and just like that, he spots it. The real monster is tucked away on the tree trunk right in front of him. Alma wastes zero time. She unleashes a colossal blast of advanced wind magic, blasting the area clear, and just when the dust finally starts to calm down, Raoul realizes the illusion is cracking and falling apart for real. But almost instantly he catches something in the distance, snaps his head up, and yells at Raoul to look, because a dark shadow is slamming out of the trees straight at them, right on top of their heads, then boom! A hulking, creepy moth monster erupts from the shadows, screams with a terrifying roar and slams into its attack. Raoul bellows for Luna, but Alma's already moving. She summons jagged earth pillars and slams them down to block the strike. Luna just stands there, staring at him. She can't believe he's casually tossing around high-level magic like it's some kind of joke. Raoul thinks the fight's finally done and claims that should settle everything. Then Alma slams the truth into him. He's wrong. He snaps his head toward a terrified man clutching his family, then demands, "So the three of you were trying to run before anyone noticed?" And the man just stares back, utterly lost, like, "Wait, what do you even mean, Alma?" Almost as the truth clicks, He realizes these people actually picked the dangerous forest instead of the main road, and when he spots hints of the kingdom's army everywhere, it hits him. They're not just traveling, they're fleeing something, and then the man blurts out, A wild rumor is flying around that great sage Julius framed Eric, and that's exactly why Alma can't help but ask, wait, who is he? Turns out Julius is the strongest wizard in the familiar world, and he basically runs the entire country, ruling like a cold, merciless prime minister who he destroys anyone who gets in his way, and he doesn't even wait for proof. He recently executed a lord on nothing but a hunch and seized his land in just days. Sanya cranes her neck toward her sister, worry twisting her face, because the moment the man keeps a hold of things, the whole air turns heavy fast. Because Alma's an outsider, he doesn't realize just how terrifying Julius really is, and they're left guessing when the army is going to crash in next. So he finally admits he always believed it was a terrible idea to use monsters as workers, the kind of thing they do right here in this territory. Suddenly, a voice cuts in. Someone yells that he's being insanely selfish. So Alma snaps her head back to see who's behind the accusation, and Luna looks absolutely done with everything as she calls him out for saying that, after they all just barely clawed their way out alive together. Luna steps right up into the man's face and demands, "Are you really about to dump all that hard work on Alma?" Alma just stands there and watches her blow up at him, and she keeps screaming at him, demanding to know if he forgot what her dad always said, that believing in someone means you have to take responsibility for what you do. Alma whips around to Sanya with a bright grin and says thanks, but he brushes it off like it's nothing, because he's just getting started and he won't stop there. So he glances at the group and tells them, it's okay, because he can tell everyone's terrified right now. Then he hesitates, and then he finally cracks and admits the mess is on him, because he half-assed everything, and swears he's going to fix it for real. With a hard stare, Alma lowers his gaze and vows he'll prove himself to everyone, hand pressed to his chest, swearing that if the kingdom's army ever comes knocking, not one of them will lay a finger on anyone. Eric stares at the kid like he's lost his mind, then snaps, "What are you even trying to do after you just said that?" Then he pushes harder, demanding to know if Alma truly believes he can face an entire army alone. Alma tilts his head toward the trees and says he has to whip his military force into shape, so everyone can finally stop panicking. Alma struts up with total confidence, tells the group, "Don't worry, I've already got a plan," and he heads out, waving as he shouts that he'll be gone for a bit and that they should watch everything, right while someone tries to yank him back with a call. Meanwhile, a group of top-ranking officials huddle over legendary loot like the fertilizer of the harvest god and glittering magic crystals, shocked that any normal lord could possibly have treasures this rare. Edward zeroes in on the kid tied to the Empire, and then they uncover a relic stamped for the demon race. He's basically convinced the Flanders territory hooked up with the Empire, or sealed some nasty deal with a powerful demon. And yeah, the signs are screaming it, because Julius orders him to slow down and stop jumping to conclusions, and Edward just nods along. Julius slaps his hand on the desk and blurts out how Lord Eric's doing lately. Then it all kicks off into a report drops saying Eric is just sitting in a jail cell, dead quiet, insisting he's innocent, while someone in the background casually hums like it's just another headline. Julius locks in with a cold stare, murmuring Eric's name under his breath like he's planning the next strike. He orders them to make sure they treat Eric with respect, because that guy might be the perfect bait. A full moon blazes over the building as a weary breath escapes, because in the silence, they realize they're nothing but a pawn, getting tossed around by someone else. Back inside, Luna's all tucked in tight, curled up next to her teddy bear like she's knocked out cold. But it turns out that was just a disguise. She's actually outside near the trees, staring forward with this fierce, determined look like she's about to. As she tiptoes through the moonlit woods, she fights to stay silent and keep her presence hidden from anyone who might spot her. Suddenly, she barrels into Raoul and Sanya waiting for her, and Raoul snaps, "What are you even doing out this late? making Luna. Luna finally breaks free. She can't believe she just got nailed by Sanya and Raoul at the same time, and she's standing there, stunned, trying to crack how they found her when she was literally in bed a minute ago. Sanya doesn't hold back. She calls Luna out, swears she knew Luna was only faking sleep, and then she leans into her sister and spills that she's been acting totally off ever since she heard the name Julius. Like her head can't stop buzzing with something big. Sanya snapped, "So you really think you can take down Julius all by yourself?" And she couldn't help pointing out that Luna had always been way too reckless. Then Luna just stood there, dead silent. Luna suddenly rips into the woods, and Sanya just stands frozen, completely blindsided, and Sanya screams, demanding to know why she's even fleeing in the first place. Meanwhile, Raoul just stands there, watching it all explode before his eyes. She keeps shouting for her sister to stop, but Luna barrels straight into the woods, deeper and deeper, and Sanya's totally freaked out. She's sprinting after her and screaming for her sister again, barely keeping up. But it doesn't last. Luna face plants on the ground, and Raoul can't help cracking a joke about how she's got absolutely zero stamina. Luna finally catches her breath and blurts out that she only ran into that guy one time. And she suddenly starts replaying the gift-receiving ceremony at that huge temple in her mind, remembering exactly how everything flipped the second the sage title was announced before that massive crowd. And then this happened right after. That tall, creepy masked guy suddenly popped up right in front of her. He locked eyes with her and declared, "My name's Julia." Luna just stands there, utterly baffled, until a voice suddenly booms and declares her a great sage. Julius leans in real close and tells her, "Come on. You've got serious talent and it's painfully obvious." He locks eyes with her and dares her to come work for him, swearing he'll give her anything her heart desires. Luna stares at his outstretched hand, and the truth hits her hard. If they want her dad saved, they've got to head straight for the kingdom. She knows her dad wouldn't truly be happy about being freed like this, but as long as he's safe, that's all that matters. Eyes locked on the goal, she snaps at everyone to get out of her way and lets nothing stop her. Right out of nowhere, she hurls a lightning ball straight at the ground. Boom! An ice-searing blast of light erupts and knocks everyone's vision out. Sanya can barely see through the blaze of flashing lights as dust explodes everywhere, and she screams Raoul's name like it might keep him alive. Raoul smirks through the smoke and tells everyone he can track anyone by their footsteps alone. No eyes needed, even when he can't see a thing. Luna is totally blindsided when Raoul snaps that she'd better not underestimate how brutally fast the Night of Gale can move. Luna lowers her gaze, a cold shadow creeping over her eyes as she softly apologizes to Drutskson, and vows she'll help as soon as she's back, while, as the roof suddenly caves in and catches Raoul completely off guard, Luna keeps strolling away from the wreckage like nothing happened. She launches into a full sprint at top speed, and Sanya's left staring like, "Did you really plan for that loose roof to drop right then?" Raoul clocks that she's using the whole town map to her advantage, but he can't deal with it, because right then, someone's trapped under a pile of wood, screaming for help. Luna's gasping, chest burning, but she can practically taste freedom. She just has to blow past the territory line. The massive spell, Seed of the Sky tree, detonates, and giant wooden pillars smash up from the earth, sealing her path completely. Someone yells that they've finally got her cornered, and Luna slams to a stop the moment she spots Sanya standing right there. Sanya looks completely fed up, blurting to her sister that she should just behave, stay right where she is, and that's it, for one thing. She tries to cool the whole mess down and tells them, "Let's just wait. Alma will show up and we'll face it together." Sanya shot her gaze away as she told her to just go talk to him, and Luna was left standing there, totally clueless about what to do next. Luna flashes a gentle smile as she glances back, quietly thanking Alma for everything he's done so far. So, right as the moment heats up, she suddenly asks for help with the territory, and then a strange glow erupts from her body, like something inside her just woke up. Raoul's jaw drops as he watches her teleport for real. because even Alma said she could only nudge herself a few inches at a time. He just locks eyes on her with a jittery stare, stunned like, "Are you kidding me? How did you pull that off right now, pure genius?" Raoul scans the woods and the darkness swallows everything. Pitch black. And he's got zero clue how they're even meant to search this forest. Sanya stands there, clearly fed up, snapping at Raoul that her sister is always acting just like this. And once she locks onto an idea, she bolts off without a second thought. No listening, no stopping. And it almost always ends with her getting completely lost, her frustrations blazing because her sister won't drop it, insisting Alma is someone they can actually trust. And then, boom, she snaps and starts screaming at the top of her lungs that her sister is a total idiot. She screams that she doesn't care if her sister vanishes again, and Raoul just stands there, stunned, because wow, her voice is absolutely unhinged. One of the officials snaps the conversation shut, promising he'll get everything handled, making sure everything's set and ready. He glances down at the little object in his hand, then snaps, "What was that kid's name again?" Right as the scarred man beside him pauses, weighing his words, then says it straight. He's talking about the boy who gave advice to the local lord and even handed over rare treasures, and he trails off, and finally locks in the name *Alma fellows ***. While out in the woods, Alma stands tall with laser focus, clearly ready to do something huge. He's still hunting them down. He calls into the empty air, admitting they're still masters at vanishing, and that it took him all the way until sunset just to finally track them. Fenrir, this colossal wolf, erupts into view out of nowhere, smugly pointing out that it's downright strange for the kid to be the one hunting him this time. Alma doesn't even blink. She squares up to the giant wolf and tells him, straight up, that she didn't come out here for nothing. She needs to ask him for a huge favor. He plants his feet right in front of the beast's snout and shouts Fenrir, getting his. With full attention locked in, Alma stares the lord of the forest dead in the eyes, then tells him, straight up, he's ready to fight. Fenrir blinked at the request like, "Wait, are you really serious about a fight?" But Alma didn't back down. She hit him with a hard, no mistakes yes. Alma dug in his heels and told that giant wolf they were going to fight. Right then. No backing down. And they didn't even hesitate to talk like they were both ready to stake their lives on this fight. Fenrir just stares him down and flat out says there's zero chance they'd ever do something like that. He finally admits he owes the kid a favor, but he draws the line. Dying in a fight is way too much, and yeah, he's been chasing his son since this morning, so he tries to push Alma away. Alma locks eyes with him, tells him they'll talk later, and then drops the scary truth. He doesn't have the luxury of wasting time, playing it safe. Then out of nowhere, he unleashes a brutal mega attack that rips a massive hole straight into They crash right into the side of the mountain. He keeps charging forward at full speed, while the rocks around them start to burst. Fenrir's like, what the heck is happening? Because Alma never does something like this, so what's going on? He shows up acting dumb for no reason, then demands answers like he owns the place. So Alma finally asks if he's heard the rumors about Eric getting caught by the kingdom, since the wolf is right next to where the people live. Fenrir rips through old rumors, how people swore the Lord teamed up with monsters to plot a rebellion, and Alma looked down, admitting with a heavy heart that he might actually be responsible for everything that happened. So Fenrir snaps that he's the one cursed with the job, proving Eric never wanted to rebel. He starts cooking up ideas, then nearly blurts out a wild thought. Maybe handing the kingdom, a rare young monster, is the key. The Lord's loyalty hangs in the air. Fenrir catches the vibe and fires back, asking if he means his son, but Alma brushes it off as just small talk, demanding, so, is that finally enough reason for you to start this fight? Fenrir suddenly blurts that he's too old for this now, and it leaves Alma completely frozen in shock. The giant wolf bares his fangs and snaps, I'm getting way too old to just sit back and watch how deep the darkness has swallowed Alma's heart. Fenrir finally snaps out of it, stops holding back, and unleashes a monstrous burst of energy that flips everything instantly. Alma's eyes snapped wide when Fenrir disappeared into thin air. Then the massive wolf reappeared and crashed into the scene. Fenrir shows up right behind him, and you can tell he's stunned, because he was certain he'd snuck up on the kid. But Alma is standing right there, perfectly okay, like that attack never even landed a scratch. The kid wastes zero time and starts shouting out high-level wind magic, itching to level up. He unleashes a massive slam that levels the whole area, then calls it the High Storm. With the wind finally cutting out, Alma just nods and lets out a breath like, "Yeah, I get it now." He whips his head toward Fenrir and blurts, "Was that shadow escape I just saw?" Then, he pieces together it fast. This wolf is springing from one shadow to the next, slipping through like it's dodging every hit. Almost scratches his chin like, "Damn, I really thought I had him with that last hit." But Fenrir's the one who's genuinely blown away, staring at this kid's magical power like it's on a whole other tier. Fenrir realizes a straight magic showdown with Alma is a losing bet, so he decides to shake things up. He told the kid straight, no matter how much power he grabs, he's still just a wizard. The giant wolf roars a move called Shadow Eater ***, and the instant it's unleashed, those dark, beast-like shapes suddenly swarm into view. Shapes start crawling out of the shadows and Alma stares, wide-eyed as the truth hits her. She realizes that the shadows themselves ignite into weapons, and claw after claw whips in from every direction, tearing into him. Alma keeps his guard locked tight, fuming because these attacks keep crashing in like they're stalking him, right when he least needs it. No warning at all. He already knows that if he lets the shadow beast steal his focus, the real Fenrir is coming right to strike in for the finishing blow the moment he least expects it. Fenrir actually praises him, saying the kid is way more cautious than he ever expected. So he just stops short and leaves it at that, but Alma stays stone calm. He clocks that the main body is deliberately hanging back, and he knows for sure the wolf's the real deal. Alma told him his reaction magic barrier wasn't some lucky spell at all. He built it from scratch by blending detection magic with defensive magic. It's honestly simple. When it senses an attack charging in, it instantly figures out the damage and slams up a barrier strong enough to stop it cold. As long as he stays in this mode, surprise attacks can't sneak up on him and catch him off guard. But the spell is so brutal it eats his energy alive, and he rockets through the shadows, certain that there's no way he can hold this barrier forever. Those shadow wolves keep smashing forward, and it's starting to look like he's not going to hold out much longer. Fenrir's basically wiping the floor with him in almost every combat stat. She just hasn't gone full berserk yet, and once she starts using her speed and her numbers to steer the fight, she can stall him long enough to drain him completely. Fenrir's locked on, staring him down like a storm about to hit, making Alma realize she could just drown him in tactics and end this right now. Because he knows he has to change gears, he snaps into action and starts casting physical enhancement magic. He instantly surged with raw physical power and stamina, like his body decided it wasn't ready to quit, because he's not done yet. And then he cranks his agility and reaction speed to the absolute max right after that. Alma instantly slams in the momentum, triggering an evasion boost that rockets him forward and makes him move faster. But he doesn't stop there. He slams his defenses together fast, stacking durability on top of durability until he's practically unbreakable. To top it all off, he slams out an enhanced vision and presence detection kick. Fenrir stares in stunned disbelief, realizing he's chanting all those spells at once, realizing he's stacking every single boost he's got, just to shut the distance between them. One of the shadow wolves rockets forward, jaws flung wide. Then everything goes sideways but Alma's ready, because the pack surges in from every side, and somehow he stands dead center, unshaken while the chaos swallows everything around him. He rockets through the air, inches from getting shredded, because his brand new speed makes those claws miss him, over and over. He flips the defense into an opening, then drives a brutal heavy kick straight through, solid contact, and then he slams his full weight into a follow-up punch, refusing to let up. Fenrir locks eyes with him, looks genuinely impressed, and then says she finally thinks it's time to stop playing around and get deadly serious. He clenches his resolve and stands firm, staring down the huge wolf sitting on those rocks across from him. He flashes a tiny smirk and dares her to stop hiding, then prove her real strength right now. Alma keeps pressing, demanding to know if that's truly all she's got, until Fenrir snaps, calling him a total monster. Fenrir admits under her breath that she never thought he'd actually slam headfirst into her shadow army like that. Yet he did, and she can't deny it, but she tilts her head to the sky and realizes the moment for what's coming next is dead-on perfect. A deafening blast hits, the whole place starts to rattle, and Alma just stands there like, what the hell is going on? He stares at the horizon and boom, the sun finally starts to crawl over the edge, and then, if Fenrir just smiles, then drops the truth that everything is about to flip from this moment on. The whole area gets swallowed by this wild, dark energy, as she declares that he's crossed into her domain. Everything feels ancient and legendary, like they've straight up stumbled into the old stories of Fenrir herself. Old legends swear that when the world finally cracks, Fenrir will lunge in and swallow the sun and moon whole. It's starting to hit him right now, like this is what it really means for him. In other words, darkness practically feels like her home, and he's standing smack in the middle of it while Fenrir crouches high on the cliff, eyes locked below, and just waits until the perfect moment finally comes. Suddenly, wild bursts of energy start hammering Alma's magic shields from every direction at once, and he's totally blindsided, like none of this was even on his radar. What's crazier is there wasn't even a tiny warning, no hint, no sign, nothing that screamed an attack was coming. She slipped through the shadows and smacked him, right on the literal beat of a heartbeat. It's a guaranteed hit. No one can dodge because it turns out this move is actually Fenrir's. That special environmental skill kicks in, and as she howls, the shadow swallowing the apocalypse engulfs everything. Fenrir keeps the pressure crushing, telling Alma that running is pointless. She'll never escape, and Alma realizes he can't just stay on defense, so he starts charging his light magic right as the moment demands it. He aims to flood the whole area with a blinding flash, shouting for the light to spread wide and blaze. But Fenrir doesn't even twitch. He just keeps saying none of this will ever work on her. Suddenly, a crushing blow lands on Alma, smashes him off his feet, and the hit hits so hard it whips him backward. He's clearly fighting to keep up with it, gasping as he goes. Seeing just how fast she's moving, he snaps into action and swaps tactics, then blasts into advanced earth magic. He unleashes Volcano Rock, and the ground detonates. Massive stone pillars slam up from beneath the earth like they're exploding out of hell, and as the dust finally drops, he realizes the light wasn't there to banish the shadows. It was a map, a signal meant to show him where she'd strike from next. So he plants his feet inside a blazing shield, and the entire forest floor gets obliterated around him. Alma clenched his teeth as the fight's pressure crashed down on him, barely hanging on while, as Fenrir rips into him, saying every ounce of his effort was for nothing. Shadows start creeping in from all sides around them, and she tells him she can slip through the dark the second he tries to launch an attack. Right as the moment comes, it cuts the whole thing off. It's like he can't possibly land a hit. She clocks his defense cracking and fires back. Are you starting to lose your blocking? So Alma decides to flip the script. He gathers wind magic and launches a move called *Air Jump*. He hurled himself skyward, desperate to escape the shadows clawing at the ground, but Fenrir lurks in the dark, staring him down, and calls him foolish for even attempting it. She challenges him, asking if he seriously believed shadows couldn't hunt him in the sky too, because the fact is, because this darkness is basically her playground. She leans in and tells him there's zero escape. And she tells him she's not going to let him die peacefully. She'll rip him limb by limb until he finally breaks and reveals where her son is. She almost smirks, leans in, and tells Fenrir he finally found her weakness. Then he says, for someone as thoughtful as her, she didn't stay silent for no reason. Alma snaps that she never would have chased him this far if she wasn't dead certain she'd win. But then, wham! A brutal, blinding light crashes into the area, and Fenrir gets hit so hard by the brightness that he's totally thrown off guard. Alma lifts her gaze with total calm and tells him straight up, that she's got her own reasons for wanting to end this fast. Fenrir can't believe a word of it, because the sun should have already slipped behind those peaks by now. She spots something sliding across the mountaintop in the distance, and her mind instantly starts racing, because she can't make sense of what she's seeing. The light surges higher, blasting their eyes open as the massive cliffs around them finally reveal the terrifying scale of it all. Just a massive eye tears open from the rock itself. Turns out it's Gaku, a mountain mimic that lurks in the ground to hunt. Fenrir snaps, because the mountain isn't a mountain at all, it's a giant beast, and now he's spiraling, wondering if Alma planned every single bit of it from the very beginning. Fenrir finally realizes Alma's been acting the whole time, baiting her into this open trap, so she scrambles to flee before it turns worse, only to spot the shadows shifting, and then everything cuts off. Alma shoots her hand out and blurts that the shadows are already creeping in from above. No escape, not a single one. He slams his sealing magic down on her, and boom, huge, heavy chains crash from out of nowhere, slamming down like a trap. Stillness clamps around her body like iron chains, tight as a vice, and metal links curl around her snout and trap her there, pinning her hard into the dirt without a chance to move. Fenrir lies through his teeth, insisting they're totally defeated, only to realize she's not losing, because this whole fight is slipping away to a little kid. She tells Alma, losers don't usually get to demand favors, but you're going to hear me out, and she pleads with him. If he's going to take someone, then take her and leave her son out of this. A voice booms that Alma is downright unstoppable for dropping the mountain's guardian. It's the Fenrir pup, and he's losing his mind cheering, because he always knew Alma was a monster all along. Fenrir's caught off guard by Alma's words and he blurts out, "What do you mean by that?" Alma whips around and stares at the forest, and there, in the clearing, a massive crowd of animals and monsters has already gathered. Turns out all those different creatures had been lurking right there the whole time, and they weren't just there. They were literally watching the whole brawl, because every monster that lives in this mountain range is tied to them. Alma blurts to Fenrir that since she confessed she lost, the Guardian title has officially jumped to him, shocking her so hard she can't even breathe. She can't shake the feeling that this whole thing was his plan from the start, but he shrugs and says he already knew she was the boss, because her son told him so. So the little pup keeps his tongue hanging out, wagging like crazy as he cheers, fully fired up about how awesome that fight was. Fenrir couldn't believe he'd bent over backwards just to hear her say she owed him, like she'd have stepped in if he'd only asked. Alma snaps that forcing the rest of the forest monsters to obey him any other way would have taken forever. So he had to make sure every single one of them caught sight of him, because that's how they'd recognize him as the new boss of the area. Alma keeps hammering his plan, insisting that smashing the former Guardian at full power is the quickest way to get the job done. By delivering a rare monster's baby to the kingdom, he'd prove his loyalty, and Fenrir would finally realize he wasn't helping at all, he was just baiting her into a fight. She watches him like a hawk thinking, I still can't crack this kid at all. Suddenly, Alma slams to the ground and drops into a deep bow right in front of her. With a grim face, he stares at the dirt below and tells Fenrir with complete honesty that he's truly sorry for everything. He admitted he'd totally betrayed her trust just to grab power, knowing full well it would hurt her, because he needed that strength to protect his own land. He tells her he's not even asking for forgiveness yet, but swears he'll find a way to repay her, someday. Alma tilts her head up and pleads, please, just keep your cool for now. And there's Fenrir just frozen, staring at him like, what is up with this kid? She towers over him and finally snaps, what do you think you're doing? After everything that's happened. Alma gets blindsided and blurts out what Fenrir is even getting at, but Fenrir calmly hits her with the truth. People with real power don't fold that fast. She tells him, you already busted your ass to flex that strength, so don't back out now. She studies him with a smug grin and says, see, I told you I was right about you after all. Then she hits Alma with a total shocker, saying that from this day on, he's officially the new guardian of the mountain. Alma thanks her with a shaky breath, finally relieved, because things are moving and they can start prepping the right way for what's about to hit next. Sunlight blasts across the cliffs as Fenrir speaks up again, and with a sudden twist, she admits she's got one favor to ask. Alma cranes her gaze back up at that towering wolf, curiosity sparking as she wonders what on earth kind of request she's about to hear from him. And she just towers there, demanding he finally give her a real name. The kid is completely frozen, blurting the same word back to her over and over, like he's refusing to accept what he's just heard. Fenrir stands there with her tiny pup, declares she wants him to choose a special name for both of them. And yeah, she means it. Fenrir keeps talking, demanding proof that she's truly his servant, standing right there, refusing to let it go. "That's all I want," she insists, eyes locked on him. Alma finally relents and agrees to do it. Yet he shoots back that he's honestly terrible at choosing names. 2 full days have slipped by since Luna stormed out of the Flander territory. And right now, everything's unnervingly still, as if the world is holding its breath. Raoul is still not back from the forest, and he's just loitering by the gate, staring ahead, waiting. He kept his eyes peeled for anything. Yet the area stayed eerily silent, with no army and no other humans rushing in. Raoul lets out a gut-wrenching sigh as Sanya slumps beside him, looking totally wiped and done with the whole waiting nightmare. The vibe is turning painfully awkward for Raoul, and he's just praying Alma shows up already so they can snap back to normal, especially when a voice finally snaps from nearby. It blurts out an apology for taking so long to get back. Raoul and Sanya totally lose it. There's Alma, dangling helpless in the giant wolf's mouth, and she just stands there, unshaken like it's no big deal. Raoul erupts into yelling, demanding to know what the hell happened, and whether that wolf finally tore him apart, while Sanya just freezes, staring at Fenrir like she's seeing the impossible. Alma's hanging there looking totally wrecked, but when Raoul shows up, he snaps back that Raoul's got it all wrong. He just needs to look the right way. Because Raoul and Sanya finally clock the rest of the pack tucked away in the trees, Raoul can barely choke out a word, staring at. As Fenrir explains, these monsters weren't just roaming around. They'd teamed up into an army to wipe out their own mother and seize control of the forest. Raoul's panic spikes, and he starts yelling at the kid, demanding to know if he really just took down the legendary Fenrir all on his own. But Alma, still dangling upside down, snaps back that it's not exactly how it went down. Raoul even admits the kid's on a whole other level though. Then he halts for a second, stunned by the realization. Somehow, he can actually understand every word Fenrir and the other monsters throw at him. Alma tells him that ever since he gave the wolf that special title, their telepathic bond has exploded into something way stronger than before. And it's a huge deal. Big deal, monsters in this world almost never arrive with a title, like it's just automatic. That's pure rarity, and the second it finally happens, those monsters show up scarier, stronger, and way smarter than every other one of their kind. Turns out, with naming magic and a monster stuffed full of power, someone can basically shout out a title on demand whenever they want. Raoul stares at the horned beast, now called Boa the Wise Monster, and his jaw drops, because both it and the wolf look totally different now. And Boa is the one causing the chaos. Now she's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with a B-rank adventurer, and everyone's absolutely stunned. Alma looks totally wiped out. He's forced to admit handing out special titles to every single monster in the forest was way tougher than he ever imagined. Raoul can't believe it. Alma actually did it, because he figured even a kid with that kind of mana would eventually run out. But Alma just tilts her head, looks him dead in the eye, and casually confirms he did it for all 30,000 monsters living right there. He tells them, now the land is backed by an army of monsters, tiny ones, massive ones, all lined up and ready to defend it. And with those titles, their status pops up from anywhere, so you can spot trouble before it even reaches you. Even so, Alma can't shake the fear that the locals will be horrified at the idea of leaning on monsters for protection after everything that's gone down. Raoul tells him, don't stress it, because right now, that's the absolute last thing they need to worry about, especially when the local farmers and villagers are already gathered there, faces worn and rough, utterly drained from fighting for every inch of ground. Raoul stands there in full gear as Alma replays every word in her mind, especially what Sanya and Eric told him lately, because now it finally clicks. This is what real responsibility feels like. The local guys aren't about to back off either. One of them steps forward and declares he'll fight right beside them. They've all thrown themselves into it, swearing they'll hold the line against the kingdom's army until Eric finally tears back into their territory. Raoul just shrugs it off with a laugh, saying it's all because Sanya's been working so hard that it totally blindsides her. Fenrir scans the area and grins, saying this place is a legit solid domain, and Alma nods like, yeah, exactly. The second the villagers spot legendary Fenrir standing there in the flesh, panic and awe explode everywhere at once. They're frozen there, staring like they just saw a ghost, because there's no way a monster that huge is really standing among them. Fenrir shrugs it off and barrels back to work, and then, boom, all of it. Alma shoots him a stern look and says, I'm headed to the capital soon, so listen up. He's gotta get Fernet to step in, keep her eyes on the whole domain, and cover everything while he's gone. Fenrir snaps a quick nod and tells them he's got every order down cold. That massive beast. Officially, he's called Fernet, the great wolf of the Fenrir race. The little pup isn't gonna sit on the sidelines. He waves his paw and blurts, I get it too. Alma snaps a quick breath, realizing it's been ages since he's totally burned through all his mana. He's slumped there, utterly drained. Then it hits him. He hasn't checked his stats at all yet. Staring at the screen, he realizes the numbers feel ripped straight from his old life, because he knows them by heart. But when he leans in for a closer look, he spots something that absolutely makes zero sense. Even with all those insane high stats carrying over, his real level just refuses to budge. It's locked at level 1. He can't help but wonder, are levels just numbers that prove how much someone's power has grown? These reincarnated folks don't start from scratch. They wake up with their adult skills and knowledge still locked and loaded. Alma can't shake the feeling that his level and growth never truly transferred to his other abilities. He stares at his own hand, trying to process this insane situation. Honestly, he's convinced he's already strong enough for now, and he doesn't feel like he needs to get any stronger. Still, that thought claws at him, and he can't stop wondering, does life still have space left for him to grow? Now, they march straight to the Familia Kingdom's capital, where a massive army stands locked and loaded in the castle courtyard. They crane their neck, stare out at the massive crowd, and marvel that the whole setup looks absolutely magnificent. Another guy nods along, then bluntly calls it out. Showing up with this many troops just to run a tiny territory is total overkill. General Achilles just stood there, jaw set, glaring like he'd heard enough as the conversation kept going. The Prime Minister just smirks, like the general's worries are nothing more than some hilarious punchline. He explains that most of them aren't fighters at all. They're just porters, sent to haul back the cash and drag prisoners from the land they're about to claim. Soldiers brace themselves, realizing that no matter how many thousands get thrown at that territory to steal it, the Prime Minister just smirks and claims he can deal with all the fighting by himself. General Achilles stares on with a scarred face, trying to figure out whether that's real or just a dirty bluff, because he's the war god himself, the one who commands the entire kingdom's military, and his track record is insane. Just recently, he wiped out an entire territory's defenses all by himself. But even with all his strength, nasty rumors are flying around him non-stop. The Prime Minister snaps shut his briefing to Lord Julius, then orders him to march straight in and take care of Flanders land. Achilles laughs it off for the Prime Minister, cracks a joke, and still keeps his eyes locked in, fully focused. Since the Prime Minister is sure the endgame plays out the exact same way, no matter what anyone does. He flashes a smirk, says the plan's locked in, and that the troops are already set to roll out. Achilles hands the Prime Minister a message and orders him to tell Maesha to shut his mouth and hurry up, then wipe out the Lord. He insists that if he does, they'll teach everyone how to crush Flanders in just a couple of days. Then he caps it off by calling the guy an old man and right. Something huge crashes into the outer wall, and a massive crack bursts open, spiderwebbing across the stone. The impact slams through, and the whole battlefield erupts with blinding light, while the soldiers down below can only stare, frozen in shock. The Prime Minister is completely rattled, and Achilles can barely process what he's seeing, because the outer wall is actually cracking and falling apart right in front of them. The stone shatters with a thunderous crash, ripping a massive hole straight through the center of their defenses as the Prime Minister glares into the swirling smoke, straining to spot whoever's lurking, and he demands to know who the hell it is. Out of the dust and broken rubble, a girl steps forward like nothing happened, and when she speaks, her voice stays ice calm as she introduces herself. Luna. She pushes deeper through the wreckage, walking straight into it while proudly introducing herself as Luna of the Flanders domain. Before she leaves, she heads there first, determined to meet the legendary sage Julia. Achilles just slumps there, totally wiped out, while the Prime Minister scans the area, demanding to know where the girl vanished. But outside, the guards were already intercepting her, grilling her to prove she even had a referral letter. Luna's face twists with confusion, and the soldiers step in to explain. She can't just stroll in to see the great sage. She needs a proper appointment or a letter of recommendation, or the doors won't open, which may. Luna suddenly realizes she's totally read the situation wrong. She thought they were actually into her, but the soldiers shut that down and tell her, that's just how it works. And she snaps, grumbling that fans like this are nothing but a non-stop headache to deal with. She snaps to a new plan and surges ahead through the rubble, fists clenched and ready for whatever's next. She stormed out and left the soldiers in full panic, yelling for her name. Yet she didn't flinch, repeating that she had business with the great sage Julius. She snaps at them to move aside or risk getting hurt, then unleashes some next-level wind magic. He slammed a colossal high-storm spell into the area, and the lightning tore everything apart. He blasted the soldiers so hard, they couldn't even get through their own sentence. The blast slams into the guards, and one of them screams in pure frustration as they're shoved backward. And then another fighter spins around, utterly lost, staring at the empty air like, where did the attack go? Because it just straight up vanished. Inside, Edward sprawls in a chair, bursts into laughter, and calls Luna a pretty lively intruder. Then he decides to see the chaos up close himself, and Luna freezes in shock as her magic gets completely snuffed out right before her eyes. Edward snaps at her to pipe down, warning that just staring might get her caught in a stray bullet. Then he barges through the chaos with a massive, creepy grin plastered across his face. Luna just freezes on the spot, staring at him like she can't believe a single word of what's, because that dude just wiped out a colossal magic blast with his bare hands alone. Edward snaps at the guards to get out of his way, and they scramble back without wasting a second, leaving Luna standing there, sweat pouring down her face as she finally realizes this is the real fight. The whole room's energy flips in an instant, because this new guy is radiating power on a whole other level. Luna senses it the second it hits. Her whole body locks up, pinned by the sheer, insane aura he's unleashing. General Achilles strides ahead with a stone-calm face, like nothing can rattle him. She storms out, leaving Luna trembling so hard she can barely stay upright, and then it hits. This dude's power is on par with Sage Julius, or it might be even worse. Achilles finally skids to a halt, staring them down with clear disappointment. Then he blurts out why it's only a girl and a tiny kid. He doesn't even care enough to waste his breath, so he snaps that he'll spare them, but they'd better scram right now. Luna is left frozen in shock, because it's General Achilles himself, who's ranting about how he missed the chance to blow off some steam. She just froze, eyes wide, torn between dread and the strange, trembling relief that he isn't attacking. One of the guards snaps up and reminds the general, kid or not, those are the same people who smashed the castle walls. But Achilles just tells the guards to deal with it themselves. He's got zero interest in bullying women and children. General Achilles looks straight up furious, as he snaps that he's in a god-awful mood for personal reasons. He warned them that if he really goes all out, everything nearby is gonna get shattered. Yet Alma couldn't care less. He's locked in and nothing, no matter how tough this guy is, will shake him, while Luna stands behind him, insisting she has to see the great sage Julius. Because her dad's trapped and she won't let him down, she steps up and demands he open the way and let them through. He immediately hurled a fireball forward, and a massive blast detonated right in front of the general. Achilles just sighs like, "Seriously, you all won't shut up about Julius, will you?" As the smoke finally thins out, he shrugs and casually points out that the smart move is backing up while you're casting. He's totally unshaken as he admits she hasn't even landed a hit yet, and he's still blown away that she can fight someone with powers he doesn't even know. Luna refuses to back off at all. She immediately strings together her next blow, unleashing powerful, advanced wind magic right after the last one. And that little move instantly hooks Achilles. He's shocked, because he can't help thinking it's wild that a rookie is treating him like a legit enemy. Achilles locks in a fierce, serious stare and says, "If you want to play it that way, then fine. Let's do this." He moves instantly, so fast he turns into a blur, while debris explodes into the air, shredded by the sheer force, triggering a brutal shockwave that slams into Luna, forcing her to tuck down hard just to keep from getting blown clean off her feet. Achilles doesn't even look fazed as he casually drops this. Seeing someone pull off teleportation in person is genuinely rare. As Luna completely snaps, she can't believe he could wreak all this damage with just one stone. He ripped straight through her advanced magic, and still had enough power left to smash the stone wall behind her. Before she can even blink, a wall of stones rockets toward her like cannonballs, hitting her in a brutal barrage. Rocks and dirt shredded the ground as she scrambled out of the way, gasping when the blades whistled past her head. She glances at him and instantly feels it. This isn't just another opponent, it's a whole different tier than anyone she's ever faced, especially because she clocked it. He's reading her eyes to guess her next move, and the scary part is, every single shot is making him even more precise. Luna snaps into full force, yanks out her water magic, and summons a colossal aqua shield to stop it. They completely hem her in, as she slams a massive aqua waterfall right onto Achilles. But Luna stays fearless, because she knows nobody can actually punch through water, so she decides to wash him away and be done with it. Except she's totally wrong. When she sees that whole pillar of water get shoved aside, her composure snaps like it's nothing. It's nothing. Achilles is just cackling like a madman as he barrels through her magic with enough force. She's stunned, because he never touched a drop of water at all, just blasted the spell back with pure wind pressure. And the water crashes into the castle wall with a thunderous roar, smashing everything in sight until the whole area is wrecked, while Achilles just stands there, grinning like he's fully winning, completely pleased with how everything's playing out. So he scans the place and fires off the question. Does she really believe she can vanish behind the castle walls and get away with it? So he's basically amazed that she can teleport away at her age, but he's not backing off. Not even a little. Achilles towers over Luna and snaps, "Look behind you, the exit is right there." Then pushes her to sprint out right now, but Eric just stands there, frozen in shock, staring at the castle walls and realizing how badly they've already been torn apart. And Achilles starts suspecting this gift is some kind of physical upgrade, until he realizes no normal present would crank someone up to this level of wild, bone-crunching strength. They're probably stacking some kind of speed-boosting magic with every rock they fling, and since they haven't even tried direct attack magic once, he figures they can't be great at it then. Yet Luna snaps back and insists she didn't run away, so Achilles spins around, eyes locked on her, and demands to know what the hell she means, as she gives him a jittery little smile and admits she'd secretly been dying to come to this exact spot. Right when Achilles lets his guard down, the earth suddenly collapses beneath him, and he drops hard with zero warning. He can't even keep up with what's happening, so he blurts out a baffled noise as his eyes go wide, and one of the soldiers yells for Lord Achilles as Eric watches everything unfold, his face tight with worry. Just like that, a giant chunk of the stone wall crashes down and blasts a massive cloud of dust into the air. Achilles finally spills the truth. He didn't just dodge fate, he swapped where they stood with the castle gate itself. He's saying that this giant steel door is basically unbreakable, unless somebody slams it with high-level attack magic. He shoots her a smug grin and asks if her power lets her move anything besides herself. And Luna just froze there, completely overwhelmed, as the dust from the collapse began to settle. He leans in right by her face and demands, "Tell me one more time, where's Julius hiding?" He won't take his eyes off her, firing off the question about Julius' location again and again, while she keeps darting her gaze away. I can't believe how young she is, yet she's already pulling off magic this advanced. Seriously, it's unreal. He snaps back and claims she must have gotten insanely lucky, some crushingly powerful gift, because his smile drains away to a shadow as he spits out that she's exactly the kind of person he can't stand. Luna locks eyes with him, finally finding her voice as she demands to know why he's so obsessed with hunting Julius. Luna locks eyes with him and declares she'll follow him if he agrees to get her father released again. Achilles freezes mid-breath, stunned as he blurts, "You mean your father, the lord of the Flandre territory, Eric?" A fierce, burning look flashes in his eyes as he whispers "Flandre" to himself again and again. It hits him all at once. That's why the whole troop dispatch got slammed on pause, and he starts snarling, furious at those vile scumbags trying to grow their own power. Luna just freezes, totally lost. Then it clicks in her head, if that's true, then things are actually going to way worse than they look. Achilles looks like he's teetering on the edge, muttering that this can't be happening because no magic shows up at all. Just him spiraling, eyes wild, acting completely unhinged as he starts to lose it. He tells himself that if he just cuts down this mysterious intruder right now, then everything finally snaps back to the way it's meant to be. Meanwhile, Luna stared in total disbelief, watching someone smash straight through a solid steel door with nothing but their bare hands. Achilles looks absolutely wrecked. Yeah, the so-called war god is cracking under the pressure. And it turns out his hidden power is the berserker gift. Then he starts clutching at his own body like something inside is ripping to get out. As the truth about his power bursts out, he can't really shoot magic like everyone else, so he's forced. He channels that inner magic and hammers it into raw physical power. And growing up, everyone wrote him off as a total loser, because he couldn't cast spells, but in the end, he still forged his legend with raw fighting skill, crushing everything in sight until the war god title finally landed on his head. In the blink of an eye, he snaps his head around, panic crawling up his spine, terrified he's already too late to stop what's unfolding. Luna realizes everything is going downhill fast, so she yanks herself back and tells her heart to run. She needs space from them, like right now. She jerks back as the floor explodes into shards from the impact. Achilles isn't buying it. He just grumbles that teleportation again is about as original as a copy-paste, and Luna just freezes there, stunned by how insanely fast he's moving. The knights at ringside are losing their minds. One swears he just vanished. Another can't believe Lord Achilles can even teleport, but here's the wild part. He's not using magic at all. He's just blasting forward so fast that the human eye can't even catch up, and then he slams down with a bone-crushing punch aimed straight at Luna, and as he strikes, the air around him bursts like it's exploding. Luna's pinned to the ground, staring up in shock. Luna's panic explodes as the truth hits. She's doomed. She flashes through plans to dodge or teleport out, but reality slams her. No matter how fast she moves, she can't get away in time. Right as the hit is seconds from landing, someone slams in, blocking it cold. Then a brutal shockwave rips through the air, shattering the ground beneath them. Then slam into Achilles so hard he freezes mid-step, caught completely off guard, eyes bulging as his mind scrambles to understand what just happened. A shadowy figure in a black cape looms over the madness, and Achilles gets blasted back through the wreckage, while the knights stand there, stunned, watching in pure awe at the. She stares at the person who just saved her, and as she lifts her head from the floor, it slowly hits her. Only now does she fully understand who stepped in. Achilles looks absolutely shaken now that he's finally spotted his opponent, while Julius just stands there with his mask on, totally calm, like the fight is already under control. Achilles finally snaps and calls him out. because the newcomer standing there is none other than the legendary sage, Julius. Julius stands with his back to the chaos, eyes locked ahead, because right after Edward's messenger reports it, turns out their guest has been stirring up a mountain of trouble and Achilles still can't wrap his head around the fact he's calling her a guest. But Julius refuses to believe it. He tells Achilles that half the damage screams Julius lost control, and that he basically went on a rampage. Staring at the massive hole torn into the stone, Julius tells them he'll cover every repair and every damage himself, right out of his own pocket. He looks at those shocked knights and promises he'll handle all the paperwork too, then casually says he'll label the whole fight as a training accident. And he even opens his arms to the wounded, telling any soldiers who took hits or feel rattled to step up later for treatment. He glances at the general and asks, point blank, if there's anything else they still have to settle before they finally close the book on this. Achilles flashes a quick smirk, shuts it down with one confident "No, that's everything." And just like that, the soldiers snap into action and start packing up. The entire army files out in spotless rows, and the courtyard empties in an instant, leaving it dead silent as Luna tilts her gaze to the one who saved her, and Julius murmurs her name in a low, quiet voice. Julius leans in and suggests they ditch the crowd, take the conversation somewhere private, then leads the way straight to his room. Once they finally get settled, he leans in and asks if her big dream is to free Eric and hand the Flanders territory back to him. Luna doesn't even stall. She tells him that's exactly what she wants. Julius sinks back for a brief moment, thinking it through, and leaving Luna frozen there, crushed by the weight of it. She stares at the man across from her, and the moment she sees him, she remembers. This is Julius, the legendary great sage, and she starts spiraling over what it would be like to serve him, because he's the kingdom's deadliest magician, and that ruthless prime minister people whisper about. So she can't stop wondering what wild, unhinged things a guy like that would make her do. Fear clenches her, so she grips her dress like it's her lifeline, then steels herself with one promise: she'll save her father, and she's ready to do whatever it takes, even if that means getting her hands dirty to make it happen. Julius suddenly blurts out, asking her if she really thinks he's some kind of demon, like the silence just snapped. Luna nearly tore herself out of her own skin when she realized she'd said those thoughts out loud. But Julius just waved it off and told her to stop pulling that scary face, like it was no big deal, because this deal's good for her too. Julius locks eyes with Luna and fires off what he told her earlier. He's not trying to know her at all, but it's her hidden talents he's hunting, staring her down through his mask, making. Luna stared up at him, completely stunned, and demanded why he'd even want something like that. So he had to stop right there. Julius leans in close, fires up his explanation and tells her, straight to the point, what he's aiming for, because he's about to lay it all out. Luna's eyes snap wide, and she fully locks up. Her mouth won't even open as his demand lands on her. Right nearby, a man's face creases into panic. Sweat pours down as he snaps, yelling, "Wait, did I really just hear you say that?" He blurts out that the troops headed for Flanders are being yanked back. Forget the full mission. They're letting Lord Eric walk free, and only sending a few advisors to watch things from the shadows. Julius stands there with Luna in the middle of that massive hall, then leans in and clarifies, "Yeah, it's part of it, but that's not what he was really trying to say." He pauses for a beat, thinks hard, then brings up the kid like, "Yep, everything's moving." The scene cuts right as he blurts her full name, Luna of the Flanders territory, loud and rough, standing there like a silent shadow. Julius slams a huge bombshell on everyone and declares he's going to make Luna his wife. And that single move sets everything in motion by leaves Edward sweating buckets, jaw tense, as he demands to know if Julius is really being serious. Luna just freezes in dead silence, eyes huge, trying to claw her mind back around what she just witnessed. She can barely force the words out, stammering about a wedding as she glares at the desk in front of her. Luna snaps on him and snarls, "Shut up," as she realizes just how much of a pervert he is, and, remembering Sanya's warning, she snaps back, screams that she's an adult, and even points to her height to prove it, but Julius doesn't move an inch. He just keeps repeating that he's after only her power, and he's determined to seize it and lock it under his control. Luna stares down and demands, "Tell me, was that power really worth risking my father and burning down everything we have?" And she locks eyes with him, stunned, because she can't understand why he's clawing so hard for a strength like that. Julia drops the bombshell, "The ceremony's tomorrow," then walks off, leaving Luna alone in her room, spiraling in her thoughts. Julia stares out at the dark sky, murmurs to Luna that it's getting late, and then orders someone to escort her to her room for the night. So the night doesn't drag on. As they stride through the halls, Luna suddenly clicks. Julius isn't here for love at all. He's using this marriage to seize control of her magic. Luna keeps her head down, looking absolutely crushed, and as they march forward, Edward can tell she's taking the news way too hard. So he whips his head toward her and orders her to stop that gloomy face, because this mess might actually have an upside waiting to hit. Edward tells her he totally gets why a forced marriage would crush her, but then he flips the script. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance most nobles would cut their own throats for, and that's where things really start to slip, which he leaves Luna stunned, ranting that she'll have more power than most nobles, and get full access to every luxury bath in the palace, and those massive orchards burst with flowers. But what really snaps her attention is him dropping that royal library is packed with rare magic books. With those magic tomes in her head, Luna starts to doubt everything, and suddenly she's wondering if being stuck here might not be so awful after all. Edward drops one more bombshell, gushing about how wild it is that Julius is over 60 and somehow still looks that good. Then Luna snaps completely, screaming that there's no way he's that old, and Edward calmly hits back by saying Julius was already the prime minister long before, back when he was just starting out as an adventurer. Edward stares down with a grave face, and his mind races back through everything that happened as Julius pauses and asks Julius if something's wrong, but Julius just stares out the window and snaps, "It's nothing," still stuck on the question of why anyone would even crave power. Edward admits he still can't pin down Julius' real endgame, though he remembers this blast from the past, when Julius stared straight at a painting and said something that stuck with him. Julius clutches the letter and Edward shoots back the words. He'd promised he had to keep it, no matter what. Out of nowhere, a voice blasts through the halls screaming at someone else, "Don't mess with me." That guy leans in and tells Julius, "The soldiers have been standing by and ready to move for ages." Rage boils in his veins because after every delay, Julius suddenly cancels everything just so he can marry some young girl. The guy with the mark on his head barrels straight into Julius' space and snaps, whether he even knows how much chaos he's dragging onto everyone else. Julius stays icy calm, looks him dead in the eye, and says he's 100% sure this is the move that'll secure the kingdom's future. He just scoffs and says, "From where I'm standing, it looks like an old man finally cracking." Julius shuts it down completely. He tells everyone the ceremony is happening today, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is going to change that. He reaches out and thrusts an invitation into their hands, insisting he really needs them there for the big event. Luna just stood there, shaking with pure stress, while Achilles lay crumpled on the floor right behind her. Achilles heaves himself upright, scrambling to tell Julius he never got the chance to finish what he was saying, but then he bursts into secret laughter, mumbling that she's completely alone now, and it makes Luna go stone still. Dark energy starts pouring off Achilles as he hunches over, writhing in pain, and it looks like that strange horn of his is finally gearing up to return. Turns out his berserker gift is a brutal double-edged blade. Every drop of his magic power gets sealed inside his body, trapped there for good. Julius shoots a grim look over his shoulder and tells you straight up, raw power like that always drags brutal downsides with it. His emotions are screaming at full volume, and it's making his inner magic glitch out completely. While everyone else just lets their magic spill out, Achilles is a straight-up ticking bomb. He can't get that energy out no matter what. Turns out when magic power starts stacking up inside someone, It doesn't stay put. It starts frying their nerves and right now, the war god has officially lost it. Berserk mode activated, while Achilles just stands there, looking straight up like a nightmare, muttering that a voice was actually talking to him from inside his own head. Luna and Lord Fellows lock eyes as this unfolds, and pure shock hits them both, because the whole vibe feels completely wrong. Achilles snaps completely and unleashes a full-throated scream, shouting for everything to shatter to pieces. He lunges forward, screaming at Julius to die, shouting that he's a pervert. Julius stays icy calm behind his mask, telling the guy he's totally got it wrong, and insisting it's nothing like that. Luna's eyes are locked on them and then it hits her. This is sliding straight into a nightmare. If Julius really charges the war gods head-on, it's basically a guaranteed crash. One of them is bound to end up in a truly awful fate. She shoots her hand out and yanks Julius's cloak, calling his name as doubt crashes in. Does she really dare to stop him? Achilles is crashing to rock bottom, replaying it like a curse. If Flander and Julius hadn't wrecked his plans, he could have just married into the territory. He knows someone saved him once, but with all his power right now, it still feels like everything he's fighting for is slipping out of his hands. In the thick of it, Julius throws his hands out and barks at everyone. Don't do a single thing. Dead serious behind that mask, he squares up and gets set to unleash a one-of-a-kind move nobody saw coming. He clamps his hands together and slams off heavy environmental magic. Then the whole atmosphere twists like it's alive. A giant blast or razor-edged blade slices through the air, and Achilles gets nailed completely off guard as his eyes go wide in pure shock. A brutal scream detonates through the area, and Luna whips her head around. Did that just come from Achilles or from someone else? It happened in a blink. Everything exploded at once, and she could barely keep up with the chaos crashing down in front of her eyes. Luna tries to shake off what just happened, but then she catches this pathetic, all too familiar vibe in the air, like she's been here before. She remembers casting her own magic to drag everyone into the palace, but now it looks like their luck has finally hit zero. Alma glances back at the chaos and says the whole vibe is turning seriously unsettling. Luna freezes in pure disbelief, then screams Alma's name as the whole world starts crumbling right in front of her. He stays icy calm, tossing her a casual line, "Keep breathing and stay focused," as if his words are the only thing holding her to life. On the far side, Edward is spiraling, scrambling his brain, demanding answers about how some intruder slipped past the castle's defenses, or whether they're cheating with teleportation, popping in out of nowhere like it's nothing. He snaps out of the spiral, cuts the overthinking, and decides the how doesn't even matter anymore. Alma locks eyes with his target. Boom, it's crystal clear. This guy is his prey and nobody else gets a say. He strides up to Luna and tells her he's beyond relieved she's okay, especially after what he heard about her being in serious trouble. Before they even get the chance to breathe, Luna blasts his name out again, and right in front of Alma's face, a brutal shockwave attack tears through the air. That pressure hits like a wrecking ball, so heavy it cracks the ground under him and slams him into a full brace to survive the impact. He gapes at the wreckage, realizing the power in his hands isn't just strong, it's on a whole other level. Luna just stands there, all jittery and scared, whispering Alma's name under her breath as she watches the fight unfold. At last the kid's name drops, Alma follows. The rumor says he's a boy with heavy Empire connections. People are finally piecing it together. He's the same mysterious boy who slipped that ultra-rare Flander item to Lord Eric, and it's making everyone. Edward watches the entire scene unfold with a smug grin, making him a target even more. The big brute swings again and again, but frustration is boiling over. Every punch hits, yet Alma doesn't flinch, doesn't react, not even once. Whatever magic that is, it's something he's never seen before. He hurls a few fake attacks to sneak a surprise, but nothing lands. Every attempt gets shut down, and now he's left staring at the barrier like it instantly nullifies every single hit on its own. The attacker locks eyes with him and fires off a real question. If that shield is truly flawless, then how the heck is he still able to stand on the ground? Suddenly he stops pounding the shield, then hurls his fists into the floor. Boom, shattering the ground wide open into. He grabs Alma in pure surprise. Then he feels the ground slip the instant the floor explodes, and just as he's falling, then the guy fires off brutal logic. If you're blocking every single bit of air, there's no way he can even breathe. The attacker steps straight into Alma's space, flashes a creepy grin, and asks if his barrier even works by sniffing out the kinetic force of every object. Alma's eyes widen with pure worry as that guy drags his hand toward him at a painfully slow pace, basically telling her, "That's exactly why I'm going to." He slipped his hand through the shield like it was nothing, like he was only giving an old man a soft, harmless pat. He's so sure that if he clings to him, slow and steady, the barrier won't even catch on that it's supposed to stop him. He looms over the gigantic crater he blew open, staring down at Alma, trapped in the hole, and then it all snaps. He grips his own arm, screams like something wild is tearing through his body. Alma stares as the guy starts steaming, and it hits her. The shield's auto-counter just fired off and started chewing through him. But then Alma spots someone else and yells at General Achilles, smashing the attacker's timing and leaving him totally blindsided. Achilles stands there, stone calm behind his mask, and just asks the big guy if he's finally cooled off even a little. The attacker just fires back like, "How am I supposed to stay calm when my arm is literally smoking right in front of me?" Achilles calls him out, saying he's the one who kicked off the fight. Then the attacker snarls back that anyone would go after an intruder. Achilles stays calm and says Alma is his guest too, and that only makes the big guy even more furious. He snaps at Achilles to stop acting like he just won a rock-paper-scissors match, like this whole thing didn't just happen, and finally he snaps he's had enough. He turns to leave, yelling that he's done, and honestly, he doesn't care anymore. One of the knights shot Achilles a worried look and demanded, "Are we really just letting him walk away like this?" Achilles shrugs off the tension and says the plan to stop the deployment is official now, even as the attacker stalks off, seething. The big guy finally admits it to himself. Sure, he can take on one monster but two at the same time. No way. The knight behind him can't make heads or tails of these two monsters he's talking about, until he glances at Alma and everything clicks into place. Suddenly the room feels heavier, because everyone realizes Julius isn't alone. He's got two of these unstoppable powerhouses backing him up. The attacker grips his smoking arm tight, swearing to himself he's going to get his revenge for every wound he took today. But for now, everything finally quiets down. Achilles whips around to Luna's group and immediately starts apologizing for all the wild chaos that just exploded. Under the mask, the man finally steps up and declares to everyone, "Call me Julius." But this isn't just noble status. He's the grand sage everyone across the whole kingdom talks about. Alma gets blindsided for a split second, but he snaps back into control and tells him he finally gets it. So this is who he's really dealing with now. Realizing this is the same legendary figure he's been hearing about non-stop in all those rumors lately. Julius doesn't even hesitate. He straight up asks why they're here, right now, in this exact moment. Alma drops to one knee on the spot, blurted apologies spilling out for the surprise, then says he's here to speak for the Flanders territory. They made it crystal clear. If it came to violence, they'd be ready to throw down, but they'd still rather sit down and talk it out. He's honestly relieved the guy's family raised him right, because even with everything this tense, he still keeps his manners and stays polite. Julius just shoots him a stare, clearly suspicious, as he repeats that Alma was there to tell his side. Alma leans in and spills the real truth. Every single charge made against Lord Eric is just fake paperwork, cooked up to trap him. Alma keeps her cool and swears that Lord Eric and the whole village are clean with the kingdom. No grudges, no bad blood. Then, to prove they mean real peace, she offers up a rare treasure the village has guarded for ages. He lifts this fancy orb on a stand like it's a royal offering, but deep down he knows he just snatched it from his own stash. Then Julius doesn't even spare the thing a glance before he snaps that he doesn't need the gift, and that's what sets everything. Alma is left totally baffled, while Julius leans in and admits it's sweet, sure, But the real fallout was already settled with a different deal. He stops everyone dead in their tracks when he blurts out the bombshell. Luna is actually going to marry him. Alma's job basically collapses out from under him as his brain scrambles to accept that they're getting married. Just like that, Edward steps in to lay out the plan. Because if he links the Flander territory to the kingdom's top official's family, then Flander and its lord finally get the one thing they've been denied. Real safety, no more trouble. And he even reveals this bombshell. Lord Eric's already busted out of prison, and right now they're treating him like he's some kind of VIP guest. While Eric sits there alone, utterly shattered, he can only whisper Luna's name over and over like it's all he has left. Raoul shuts it down instantly. He's done swallowing this, and he erupts, yelling and pointing as he calls it out. They're just swapping Eric's life for Luna's freedom. He keeps roaring that the marriage shouldn't be legal at all, and I'm left almost frozen in place, stunned by that sudden explosion of anger. Julius waves off Rawls screaming like it's nothing, cool as ice, and tells him that sure, people can talk, but sooner or later they'll have to come up with something better. He's laying it out like, political marriages for profit happen non-stop. And he's also swearing this engagement is fully consensual for every single person involved. Even so, the kingdom's laws are calling the shots the entire time. He snaps his attention back to her, then fires the question at Luna. Doesn't that prove it's the truth? Alma can only stare at him, trembling out her name in a barely audible whisper, as he hangs there waiting for an answer, while Luna just stood there, tears spilling down her face as heartbreak crushed her to the core. She finally finds her voice and blasts her message right to Alma and Raoul. She had them go all this way just for her, so she thanked them with every ounce of her heart. Deep in her chest, she tries to tell herself it's fine, even though she can't fully explain why her heart feels like this. She kept telling herself, if I marry the Grand Sage, my father and everyone back home will finally be safe. Luna keeps thinking that the kingdom's support will finally let her territory expand, even though she's only known Alma and Raoul for a few months. All Alma can think about is her own face, and she scrambles to convince herself that if everyone else is smiling, then everything must be okay. Good enough when she sees them smiling. That's all the happiness she ever needs. Alma just stares at her, eyes wide with pure fear, while he mutters her name under his breath. Julius shatters the silence by declaring that the wedding ceremony is happening tomorrow. He tells the whole group, "You're Luna's friends, so we're getting rooms ready for you right away." He stares at Luna and blurts that she's probably wiped out, then urges her to go get some rest. Alma stares as she walks away, and the reality finally hits him like a truck. Later on, Luna stands alone in a hushed room, staring up at a colossal wedding dress like it's staring back, telling herself, one last time, that their happiness is the only thing that matters, and she has to live with that. Luna sprawls in the dark with a cloth over her head, utterly wiped out. Her thoughts won't shut off, and she keeps asking herself why she couldn't just force out the words she needed to say.